In the world of the Tower of Trials, the gatekeepers are practically invincible, and in the Arctic chill of -60 degrees, players are wiped out in less than an hour. The labyrinth spans 10,000 square kilometers, clearly designed just to torture the players. After getting beaten up repeatedly and trying every possible method, Kang Jin-hyuk finally conquered it. Reaching the 50th floor, he became the first person to clear this virtual world. But before the young man could even enjoy his triumph, a system notification suddenly popped up right in front of him. Tower of Trials. The first update is successful. Everyone must clear the next floor of the tower within 90 days. If you fail, humanity will vanish. While the whole world was. In a panic, Kang Jin-hyuk immediately jumped up, grabbed any coat he could find, and bolted out of the house like a horse. He couldn't afford to waste a single second here. He had to get to a location where he could collect items in the city center. In the chaotic crowd, many still couldn't accept the reality. Some wanted to leave Seoul. Others wanted to flee to Busan or even leave Korea entirely for other countries, thinking that staying put meant certain death. But unfortunately, news reports showed that there wasn't a single country that had escaped the appearance of the tower. Kang Jin-hyuk pushed past them, panting. This wasn't the time to retreat, but the time to advance. In the Korean server, the place he wanted to reach was the alien zone. There are about 30 of them across the country, and this was the closest one to where he lived. As soon as Jin-hyuk entered the underground shopping mall, the system notified him, "You are entering an event zone." There were already a few people inside. These were all players who had survived the prologue of the Tower of Trials. They were glaring at each other, which was understandable. Items would soon appear in limited quantities, and if lucky one could collect a maximum of 5. A man in a sharp suit saw Jin-hyuk and immediately asked, "You're Kang Jin-hyuk, right?" When Jin-hyuk turned around, the guy flashed a grin. "Hey, you're here too. You who locked yourself in your room and ignored everything else just to grind this game all day." This guy was Lee Jong-soo, also a streamer like Jin-hyuk on YouTube with 500,000 subscribers, a famous streamer who was also the CEO of the company he used to work for. Jin-hyuk looked at him and asked, "Don't you have a stream scheduled right now?" Lee Jong-soo shrugged and pointed toward the center. "With something like this happening, what can a streamer do anyway?" He leaned in, tempting him. "What floor have you conquered in this game? Come on, share a little secret with your old colleague." Forget about that. Just the mention of it made him want to vomit. Colleague, my foot. His company had tricked so many streamers into signing those slave contracts, and their voices were often drowned out by the power and loud voices of the company's legal team. The close brothers who had been with him since the beginning had all left. The guy, thick-skinned, didn't care. He ignored Jin-hyuk's dark expression and patted his shoulder, saying he knew Jin-hyuk was a talented player and that his game highlights were great, promising to rewrite the contract for their mutual benefit. Jin-hyuk turned and delivered a punch straight to his nose, drawing blood. "Lee Jong-soo, the world has changed. Don't talk to me like we're friends, you pathetic piece of trash." The punch successfully sent 2 of his teeth flying. What a relief after punching. Lee Jong-soo, just as Jin-hyuk predicted, the time for the items to appear had arrived. Sure enough, a giant tree sprouted from the center of the fountain. This was the Tree of Greed. Everything was exactly like in the game. Kang Jin-hyuk felt both excited and as if he were in a dream. On the tree, delicious ripe fruits were budding rapidly. These fruits helped increase strength, speed, and magic stats. Naturally, it was a great item, but there were only 4 fruits total, and there were many more people here. It looked like a fierce competition. Everyone scrambled to grab onto the trunk, trying to climb up to pick the fruit. They were pushing, shoving, and pulling each other's hair, trying to drag rivals down. Lee Jong-soo had climbed up too, but he was kicked down. Furious, he threw his blood-stained handkerchief to the ground and cursed, "If you had just cooperated with me and split the fruit, we both would have benefited. Now there's nothing left, you idiot." Kang Jin-hyuk glared at him. "If you don't know, stay silent. Don't act like a know-it-all." It wasn't the time for talk. Very quickly, someone managed to climb up. They picked a fruit from the Tree of Greed and devoured it greedily. Most people didn't know anything about this fruit. Those who had played a few times would only focus on grabbing the fruit, but players who had stuck with it for a lifetime like him would enjoy the twisted, brutal process. Afterward, someone finally remembered it was extremely dangerous if you ate all those fruits. The roots, like a great mother avenging her fruit, lashed out at them. Back when this was just a normal game, people had died here at least 50 times. The dense crowd that had been climbing earlier quickly ran away. Lee Jong-soo also stood up, wanting to flee. Kang Jin-hyuk put his hands in his pockets and called out to him, "You thinking of giving up?" He gritted his teeth and replied, "Of course he didn't want to die here like this." Kang Jin-hyuk said nonchalantly, "What a shame, because the real reward of this event can only be obtained once all those fruits are eaten." The guy was skeptical and asked again, "Are you serious?" Jin-hyuk replied, "If I were lying, why would I still be standing here?" Lee Jong-soo was swayed, just now seeing him standing still and not fighting for the fruit. He had been curious. It seemed this was the reason. Although he didn't know the details, this felt like a perfect opportunity to exploit this fool. Seeing the guy agree, Kang Jin-hyuk laid out the plan. "Now the two of us must go in together. If we go one by one, we'll easily become targets, so we need to rush in from opposite sides at the same time to make the tree of greed distracted." He warned him, "Remember, if either one of us hesitates, we'll both die." Lee Jong-soo replied, "Don't worry, I've played this game many times too." He shouted one time and immediately ran toward the tree while Lee Jong-soo stood in place laughing triumphantly. "What a fool! Who would believe your words? Go ahead and be the bait." Contrary to his words, Kang Jin-hyuk was glad that the guy hadn't changed at all, because the person who would act as the bait was actually him, the one standing further away from the tree. The branches stretched out like they had a soul attacking and wrapping him into a cocoon. At this moment, Lee Jong-soo panicked and screamed for help. But why save him if he hadn't thought he was so smart and wanted to stand on the sidelines to let others be the bait? He wouldn't have died. The tree squeezed tighter and tighter, only his eyes were visible. Lee Jong-soo screamed, "I don't want to die." Kang Jin-hyuk kindly suggested, "If you have any problems, why don't you bring it up with your legal team?" Farewell. With one piece of trash gone, the next step was to dodge the tree's attacks. He knew the direction and sequence of the tree's attacks by heart, so dodging was as easy as pie. Two branches collided. The final snap, then the core of the tree would be exposed. All of this was exactly as he had experienced in the game. In this stage, finding the precise angle of the attacks and manipulating them. Turning an attack into an advantage is the tricky part. Kang Jin-hyuk ducked and grabbed a broken tree branch. Since this is an event mode, there's no way to gain experience points. At best, you'd only get a spot in the Hall of Fame. The greedy treant used its vampiric vine skill, sending countless vines lashing toward Kang Jin-hyuk. Even for a veteran player like him, with this many, he couldn't possibly dodge them all. However, using the broken branch in his hand, he swiped at them, deflecting the treant's attacks. There was nothing to fear. This was something he'd done a dozen times before. As he batted away the vines and moved forward, he finally reached the treant's main trunk. A swarm of sleep butterflies flew out from inside, releasing sleeping powder at their opponent as a form of self-defense. Kang Jin-hyuk covered his nose with one hand. To complete this quest, he had to get past these guys without inhaling the powder. That's easy. I'll just hold my breath. With a few more strides, he lunged and climbed the trunk. Kang Jin-hyuk jammed the branch deep into the tree, split it in two, and hooked the treant's core. The system popped up a notification. "Congratulations, you are the first to defeat the greedy treant." He jumped down to the base of the tree, panting heavily. All those hours spent researching it weren't in vain. He was finally grateful for everything he'd done back when the system announced, "Achievement will be recorded in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. Please enter your name." Kang Jin-hyuk knew right away this trash game was demanding his personal info. He asked, "Can I set all information to anonymous?" He didn't. "I want to reveal any personal details at all. If he were outed as a top-tier former player, it would be a huge headache." But it seemed the system wouldn't fully accept that. It said, "Name will be obscured and voice will be altered." Anyway, it's not like he could change anything. Whatever, fine. The more important thing was gutting the treant and getting the item, the wood crystal. If eating a fruit only boosts strength, agility, and magic by 3 points, this crystal gives a whopping 12. You only get 3 points per level up, so this crystal is equivalent to 4 level ups. Considering there are 50 floors total, this is incredibly useful. There's no item more powerful than this. After consuming it, Kang Jin-hyuk opened the system to check the effects. The stats appeared level 1. Strength, 5 agility 6, vitality 7, magic 5. Skill points 12. Profession none. Special ability none. Skills none. Just level 1, but with 12 skill points he truly is the strongest level 1. Just an hour later, the news that the first greedy treant had been defeated hit the web. The announcement stated a video would be uploaded in 10 minutes. Immediately, the netizens exploded. This is truly insane. Just how much of a pro do you have to be to take that thing down? Some people even cursed the system for being a liar. One netizen even ranted that the guy just got lucky, saying the guy was a former top player claiming that Tree was impossible to beat with. Some silly dancing moves. Besides the initial comments, the rest didn't believe it, saying Kang Jin-hyuk either got lucky or cheated, but as soon as the video was uploaded, the doubtful comments vanished. The crowd that was trashing him before fell completely silent. There were tons of comments, but they all expressed extreme awe. Holy crap, after Kang Jin-hyuk got home and finished his shower, he read the comments on the forums. On his main account, many people knew he was a streamer who spent all day immersed in this game, so they sent him some tempting offers like 10 billion won, or providing funds however he wanted. After all, billions of won is a lot. He had lived such a miserable life, barely able to eat, paying rent late, starving for days just to afford a single delivered meal. If these offers had come yesterday, he would have been thrilled and accepted immediately. But now he had no intention of sharing his knowledge with anyone. Even for 10 billion won, the most important thing, right? Now isn't money, it's exclusive information about this game. After all, when it was just a game, there were infinite lives to try again, but now that it's reality, you only have one. The moment the game. Unlocked mana from the trial tower flooded throughout Seoul. It didn't cause any obvious physical changes, but there was one massive shift items outside our tower became holy relics. But they were all fake. To put it bluntly, they were knockoffs, because the real legendary holy relics are inside the tower. According to online info near the National Museum of Korea, there are the most replicas. The National Museum of Korea is seen as a treasure chest with countless holy relics inside. The problem is, he isn't the only one aiming for the replicas. Unlike the greedy treant, which appeared regularly at 7 locations around Seoul, there is only one national museum. There will be other people from all over coming here for the relics. Among them, there are bound to be some top-tier players. Pushing the door open, the air was much quieter than he expected. Just as he was wondering why no one had arrived, here yet there was a burnt smell. A charred person was already there. As expected, someone had arrived first. The times have changed. He thought others would adapt, but the gap between expectations and reality is much larger. After just one day, people have become way too reckless. The thing they are aiming for must be the holy relic kept inside the medieval section. It is the holy relic that everyone who comes here wants to possess. It contains the grand map of the Eastern lands. Of course, he isn't just focused on the map of Korea. The grand map has now been infused with magical energy containing information about the trial tower. This is the reason why everyone wants to get their hands on it. It will show us the locations of mazes and ruins while also explaining the items found there. Although it only provides information up to the 10th floor, it's more than enough to ignite the light of greed in people's hearts. When these people are all fixated on it, they will miss the extremely important holy relics lying hidden under the mud. Sure enough, inside it was an incredibly chaotic scene. A bunch of people were using force and shouting matches to fight over the map. A muscular guy walked in and roared for everyone to shut up, saying anyone who twitched would die by his hand. A few people who were arguing found it hilarious. One guy retorted, "Nonsense! No one here is scared by a few empty threats. Move your toe and I'll crush your skull." The muscular guy flexed, getting so big his shirt ripped, using a unique skill to manifest 2 steel arms, slamming them together to intimidate the crowd, unexpectedly fast. He already had a skill. He didn't make things difficult for them. He just said, "The map is mine." Before the others could leave, an old man with his hands clasped behind his back walked up to the map. "Is this yours?" "Can't agree with those words." The muscular guy turned to look at him and asked, "Hey, old man, are you crazy?" The old man calmly replied, "My name." So the guy already had his skill, and he wasn't about to give them a hard time. He just told them, "This map belongs to me." Before the others could even move, an old man with his hands clasped behind his back walked right up to the map. "Belongs to you, I can't say I agree with that." The muscular guy turned around, glared at him, and asked, "Hey, old man, are you crazy?" The old man just calmly replied, "I'm not just some old geezer. My name is Min Jung-gu. My name means to live in harmony with nature and all living things." The muscular guy gets even angrier. He couldn't care less about this old man's name or what it means. "Do I look like I care about living in harmony? Look at the mood I'm in, then get lost. I'll snap your wrinkly neck like a chicken's." The old man shakes his head. "So young, yet you talk like that. However, which is faster, me snapping your neck or you turning into charcoal?" A gentle flame erupts from his fingertips. With a soft, calm whisper, "Ignite." The flames consumed him instantly, leaving nothing but his painful, echoing screams lingering in the air. A short-haired girl in a school uniform emerged from behind the old man. "Fire magic. That was impressive. Good thing I decided to join forces with you." Seeing the girl, Min Jung-gu grunts and asks if she got the item. He leaves the rest to her and turns to leave. Lizusi gently places a statue on the ground, a beast with human legs and the face and ears of a jackal. "Just this guy is enough. If anyone gets in the way, it'll take care of them immediately." The jackal spirit stretches, growing into a giant. Lizusi stands next to it, arms crossed, staring down the terrified survivors. "From now on, anyone who moves is considered an enemy. Is that clear? I'll let it chew your heads off." After saying that, she flashes a cute, innocent smile at them and asks, "We'll work well together, right?" The others can only curse under their breath. "Damn it, there's nothing we can do." Since more of those jackals kept showing up, they had no choice but to drop their weapons and surrender. "We'll give up the map and everything else. Pick it all up." Lizusi clasps her hands together, beaming with a cute smile. "Thanks, guys." Before she could walk over to collect the items, footsteps approached. Kang Jin-hyuk casually walked right up to a piece of paper and began scolding them for making such a mess of the place. He crouched down, picked up the paper, and dusted it off. "Don't you guys have any respect for history? At least this one isn't torn." Lizusi's expression shifted instantly. This girl flips faster than a pancake, looking at him with a dark, gloomy glare. "Hey, you carefree idiot! Did you think I was joking?" She immediately ordered the jackal spirit to seize him. The jackal lunged with a long spear, but Kang Jin-hyuk stood perfectly still, swatting the spear aside with his hand, leaving a long gouge in the floor. Everyone there was losing their minds. They didn't understand the hell they just witnessed. How did he even manage that? And on top of that, he didn't even bother to dodge, and his hand was still perfectly fine. They had no idea what Kang Jin-hyuk's actual stats were, so they just stood there, jaws dropped at his performance. He looked at Lizusi and asked, "What are you going to do now?" "Your little pet lost its only weapon." Lizusi picked up her school bag and pulled out several more statues of jackals and beasts. "Who says I've still got plenty more sacred relics replicas of Anubis statues?" Summoned by her magic, dark, ominous giant jackal statues stood surrounding Lizusi. "Let's see if this guy can keep smiling now." Kang Jin-hyuk nodded. "Not bad. This kid can summon 5 statues at once with such a small amount of mana. Not too shabby." So she and that old man from earlier both have magic. It seems more people escape the newbie phase than I thought. Hearing Kang Jin-hyuk judge her level, Lee Juji asked back, "Fair how fair, exactly?" Kang Jin-hyuk raised his hand, leveling it with his chest. "Fair, or more accurately, somewhere between decent and okay. Right around here." Lee Juji felt irritated and let out a cold, annoyed huff. What was with that cool guy act? Kang Jin-hyuk let out an "oh, all right then. Let me show you the real gap between a kid like you and me." He held up the drawing he'd just picked up. The system announced that mana had been transferred into the forest tiger. "The ruler of the mountains has appeared." A massive giant tiger stepped out of the painting and stood beside Kang Jin-hyuk. He reached out and stroked its head. "A stray dog dares to bare its fangs in front of the lord of the forest. Take them all out." In a split second, the tiger lunged, tearing through and obliterating all of Lizusi's Anubis statues. Even though she had heard of many ways to control artifacts, she had never seen anything like this. The sheer power of the magic made her feel as if her own skin were being ripped apart. Realizing she couldn't win Lizusi helplessly, slumped to the ground. She thought she had an ace up her sleeve, but it turned out there was someone even more formidable. Kang Jin-hyuk pockets his hands and walks over saying, "Hand it over." Lee Juji pulls her coat tight and asks, "What do you mean?" seeing she wasn't going to cooperate and was playing dumb. He crouched down to look her in the eye. The mask of Tutankhamun. She knew she couldn't hide it, but she was still reluctant to give it to him. "It's useless in Korea. Why do you even need it? If you won't take the invitation for a toast, you'll get the punishment instead." Kang Jin-hyuk beckoned the tiger over. Lee Juji screamed, "Fine, I'll give it to you all right." It might be useless to others, but with this item he would get the second artifact soon enough. Lee Juji wondered, is he aiming for the great map of the Eastern lands? Only then did he remember the map. He'd almost forgotten about it. He patted the forest tiger. "Keep guard here. Don't let anyone pass. The preparations are done. Now time to go get the strongest skill in the trial tower." By the time Kang Jin-hyuk arrived, the old man, Min Jung-gu, was already there. Seeing him, he couldn't fathom why that brat Lee Juji would let this happen. Who is this kid, and how did he get up here? Could he really have defeated Lee Juji to reach this floor? Kang Jin-hyuk stood beside the old man, stroking his chin. "I think this is a one-star barrier." Min Jung-gu gasped. "So you know about this thing?" "Huh." He placed his hand on the barrier and got zapped, quickly pulling it back. He had never seen anything like this before. Neither magic nor physical attacks had any effect on it. If he knew how to break it, he wouldn't be standing here, waiting for him to show up. Kang Jin-hyuk placed his hand on the barrier and said he knew a way to destroy it. But there was one condition: the old man had to continuously use fire magic to weaken this defensive shield. He had to keep the magic up while he went inside and retrieved the necessary relics. Kang Jin-hyuk said he couldn't maintain the magic to weaken the barrier for that long himself. "You can doubt it if you want, but this is the only way. I'll let you keep the map because in the end I need something else." Min Jung-gu knew the worst-case scenario was that all his hard work would go to waste, but he couldn't stand here until dawn and leave empty-handed either. He asked, "You promise you'll give me that map?" Receiving a firm answer, he decided to trust him just this once. Right at that moment, he cast a spell on this barrier and dashed inside, shouting for them to hurry up. Kang Jin-hyuk was definitely going to do his best, but naturally in his own unique way. It seemed few people had reached these lower levels yet, so everything was still neat and fully stocked. Well, except for the iron sword with the Qianlong Emperor's engraving, of course. Someone had been here and already left. He was certain that barrier was set up by that person. They'd planned to leave after getting what they wanted, but they didn't even realize the item they took was only an A-rank relic. By rank, that is. After searching for a while, he finally found what he needed: the 100-technique money worm. His innate unique skill, the final piece needed to forge the most powerful ability of all. The remaining materials were the Persian sacrificial formwork and the right eye from Tutankhamun's mask. Placing the eye onto the form caused the two relics to react to each other, a notification only appearing when two compatible relics met. Kang Jin-hyuk tore the money worm apart. He had been waiting for the notification requiring him to pay an appropriate price if he wanted to proceed. Once Kang Jin-hyuk paid the full amount required by the system, all three relics reacted successfully, helping him obtain the Relic of Truth's Eye. He could see others' stat boards and tell if they were lying 3 times a day. Besides this eye, he had come here for another reason: to complete a hidden system quest. By successfully combining the 3 relics to create a relic higher than S rank, he had met the conditions to finish the quest. The system popped up a congratulatory notification. He had received the unique skill, Merge. This skill allowed him to copy and store the exclusive abilities of other players, copying and storing countless skills in this world, and using those skills to create even more powerful skill sets. That was the weapon to make him the strongest in this challenge tower. However, the conditions for copying a skill would change based on the difficulty of the skill being copied. Outside the barrier, Min Jung-gu shouted at him to hurry up if he was done. He didn't think he could hold on much longer. Kang Jin-hyuk heard him and looked out, contemplating, "Let's see, what do I need to copy that skill?" He stared intently at the old man. The system received the command and displayed the copying condition. Min Jung-gu had always hidden his true emotions behind a mask. He had to make the old man reveal his true feelings. Reading that, he smirked. In other words, He just needed to piss the old man off, right? He turned and told him to stop using his skill. That's enough. You weren't doing anything useful anyway. Truth is, just speaking Latin would have broken the barrier. You didn't contribute anything to breaking it. When he dashed in, he had spoken Latin and hadn't needed the old man's firepower at all. Next, he went up to the map. He already knew all the information about the tower, so the map, which only contained info up to the 10th floor, was useless. But just because it was useless, it didn't mean he would just hand it over. He could use it to provoke the old man. If someone else could get information up to the 10th floor through this map, the chance of someone surpassing him would be higher. If so, the only way to ensure his position was to eliminate that possibility. Seeing him holding a lighter, Min Jung-gu became incredibly impatient. When the flame flared up and burned the map, the old man truly lost it. With a face as red as a tomato, he roared, "You son of a butch, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna tear you to pieces, damn you!" Those lovely, affectionate insults were exactly what he needed to successfully copy the old man's fire element skill. This skill, was copied and stored in his memory, allowing him to control fire, and his affinity with the element would increase. At this moment, Min Jung-gu still didn't understand what was happening. He wanted to use fire to make the boy pay for his actions. Kang Jin-hyuk directly activated level 1 fire element. The old man realized the skill was identical to his own, but compared to his, the old man's looked like a child's play. It seems this kid is no ordinary person. Thinking back, what kind of ordinary person would say they didn't need the map? Enjoying his first successful copy, he wasn't doing too badly. He leaned over and said, "Old man, if you want to climb the tower leisurely, listen carefully to what I'm about to say." He would contact him later. Meanwhile, he wanted the old man and the girl downstairs to go level up. Kang Jin-hyuk stretched, summarizing that including him there were already 4 veterans appearing at the National Museum of Korea. He also understood why they wanted to minimize their own risks, especially now that the world had turned into a challenge tower. After glancing at his stat board one more time, Kang Jin-hyuk flexed, thinking he looked pretty cool. Right now he had a few pawns in his hand, but the road was still long. First, he had to collect the necessary skills. Since he only had one life, having every single skill was impossible. However, the delicious and most important ones, he would snatch all of them. On the way back, his stomach grumbled in protest, demanding food. At times like this, a bowl of beef noodle soup would be beyond perfect. He turned into a restaurant and sat down. The food hadn't arrived yet, but he saw everyone in the shop focused on the screen. The TV was reporting that at least 23 people had died and 50 were injured at the National Museum of Korea. The toll was still rising, and it wasn't just Korea. But other countries were experiencing the same. Just as he thought, players worldwide had begun to act in preparation for climbing the tower. A video of him inside the museum was also shown, but his face was blurred out. Still, many people recognized him. The government had also begun an investigation into this mysterious tower and established a new organization called the Awakened Association, composed of individuals possessing special abilities. The commander-in-chief of the newly formed Awakened Association was Han Sang-jin. He announced on TV that the reason he was there was to recruit more awakened members. Everyone's level might differ, but the government promised each person a salary of up to $60 million per year and an official level 7 position within the government. At the same time, he extended an invitation to the person in the video just played, saying if they joined him, they would be given anything they desired. The invitation had just been issued. People in the shop were buzzing with excitement. They didn't know who he was, but they still found it incredibly envious. That was enough to change a person's life forever. Kang Jin-hyuk thought to himself, but for the person in that video it was different. It turned out their target was him, but no matter how attractive the offer was, he wouldn't be joining. In this world, the value of one outstanding individual is worth more than 100 average ones combined. Han Sang-jin understood that, which is why he made such an offer. As for convincing him, he figured if the guy was chosen as a commander, he must possess some sort of skill. Otherwise, it must be because he has a lot of experience with the trial tower. He hoped the guy had a good skill, if so copying it would be much more interesting. Today at 7 o'clock the trial tower will open. When the tower opens, crowds of people scramble inside. Most still can't believe this is actually happening. As for Kang Jin-hyuk, he sighed. This place is exactly the same as before. To celebrate entering the tower, each member is gifted 100 coins. Coins are the currency used inside the tower. Players can upload videos recording their achievements. Players receive 100 coins per 10,000 views. However, depending on each player's status, there will be additional fees. The live streaming function can only be used when facing bosses to move to the next floor. Anyone caught manipulating view counts or using other forms of cheating will be penalized. This is the bridge between those who want to climb the tower and those who just want to keep living outside. Viewers will choose players with higher chances of performing well on the upper floors, thereby increasing their views. The more famous they are, the more coins they get. Everyone is rushing to get to the Goblin Hang. If you find a good spot, it's easy to farm. If you want to have fun, it's every man for himself. Everyone just wants to clear the stage as soon as possible and try to get ahead of others. Kang Jin-hyuk knows this place inside out, so earning coins is easy. However, he doesn't intend to upload videos just yet. He could rely on videos to earn coins, but at the same time, the information he knows would be shared widely, and that would be a huge loss. So he decided the first thing he needs to do is something no one has ever done before. Recalling when the trial tower was just a trash game while he was fighting up to the 30th floor of the tower, he suddenly couldn't advance any further. To reach the 31st floor, he had to go back down to the lower floors to search for hidden secrets. This forced him to rely on his past experience and retrace every step of his own path. Finally, he found the answer in an abandoned ruin. The answer was that his character wasn't perfect from the start. Although it was heartbreaking, he accepted giving up his past time and effort to delete his character and start over from the beginning. After remembering everything, he sought out a labyrinth named Labyrinthos. This labyrinth is special because of its complexity and countless different types of traps made to stop anyone from entering. The key to clearing the 30th floor is building a foundation and finding the key inside this labyrinth. To think that after 6 years, he would have to go through this all over again. Just thinking about it makes him pale. As much as he hates this place he has to go in. Once inside, as he was reminiscing about old memories, he realized there was already a group of people there. When he asked who they were, the girl in the pink shirt smiled brightly and replied that they were looking for a place to farm, but ultimately decided to come here before this labyrinth closes in 10 minutes. They had the gut feeling that following him would lead to something, and they discovered he could open the labyrinth gate without a key. Moreover, they thought that a place a level 1 person could enter wouldn't be dangerous, so they followed. One of them asked the girl in the pink shirt, "Do you think he'll be kind enough to share the loot with us?" She coolly replied, "Of course not. Just leave him to rest in peace in there forever, and it's done." At this moment, as she stood in front of Kang Jin-hyuk, acting cute and harmless, suggesting they team up. People often say the more the merrier for safety, but it seemed they were targeting him, thinking they had the numbers advantage. The girl, in the pink shirt, must be the leader. Just to be sure, while Park Hana was introducing herself, he activated the Eye of Truth. The girl's stats were revealed. She already had 3 skills: communication fast walk and low-level recovery. With the communication skill, she has the ability to make friends and get close to people. She just met very naturally. This skill is special in that it can erase the lack of compatibility between 2 parties. The copying condition is to spend at least 240 hours with Park Hana. However, after 240 hours, no one can stand around him. While staying with Park Hana, the rest of the group introduced their names and levels to him. Most were new players on floor 1 or hadn't played yet. Because he wanted to copy Park Hana's skill to be useful for other floors, he also mimicked her smiling and introducing, "My name is Kang Jin-hyuk." It sounded nice, but as for the fact that these people intended to betray him, it was as clear as day. "What's the point of remembering their names, Park?" Hana affectionately grabbed his arm, calling him Appa in a syrupy voice, asking what floor of the trial tower he had reached. Park Hana used her communication skill, rested her head on his shoulder, and her hand gently stroked his arm. Kang Jin-hyuk placed his hand on her shoulder and pushed her away. "Don't cling to me, I just play as I go." So that's how this skill works. If he hadn't known beforehand, he would have been head over heels. Park Hana didn't understand why her skill wasn't working, but she still smiled sweetly with a sugary voice, asking him to tell her the characteristics of the labyrinth and the types of monsters that appear in. "I did," Kang Jin-hyuk replied. That's not difficult. This labyrinth changes its layout after a certain amount of time. No sooner had he said that than the rocks and ground shook and the group dodged. Constantly otherwise, they would be crushed by the labyrinth's movement. As soon as the movement stopped, they realized they had lost one person. They still couldn't believe that there was a labyrinth like this on the first floor. They thought that apart from ruins, every place was the same. Kang Jin-hyuk dusted off his clothes and asked, "Haven't you all experienced a labyrinth with shifting terrain?" "At least once." "Why are you so surprised?" One person yelled. "Who in their right mind would go through things like this?" Park Hana also felt that this place was too dangerous compared to floor 1 and wanted to leave quickly. She told a girl named Hyman in the group to use her search skill to find the exit. The brown-haired girl named Hyman was terrified, tears welling up in her eyes as she replied that because the labyrinth shifted, her skill had been cancelled. In other words, they were stuck here. Kang Jin-hyuk finally understood everything. He had been wondering, why were these people so confident as they charged in here, listening to them bickering? Now it's clear they were only relying on basic navigation skills. These rookies clearly had no idea what they were walking into. Thinking a labyrinth is as easy as a walk in the park, what a bunch of idiots. But the time is almost here for that thing to appear. After finishing their argument with the others, Park Hana dropped her sweet, adorable facade and snapped at him. "What do you mean the labyrinth is changing? Why didn't you tell us something that important sooner?" The walls were shifting, closing in from all sides. They were flying all over the place. We had to keep dodging them, and now we're covered in bruises and scrapes. "Look at this. It's your fault we almost died," one of the group members chimed in. "Yeah, that guy knew everything from the very beginning." Kang Jin-hyuk let out a long sigh, his eyes scanning them. He looked at them like they were nothing more than a bunch of lunatics. He said coldly, "Did I ever ask you guys to follow me? You were the ones who said you wanted to come along voluntarily." "Right, I didn't force anyone or drag them in here." Since reason wasn't working, the guys in the group started cursing him out. "You bastard, we're stuck here because of you. The moment I laid eyes on you, I hated you. Well, we've reached this point anyway." And just like that, they decided to turn on him. Who would have thought? While they were still running their mouths, an axe came flying in and took one of them out instantly. A minotaur appeared in front of the group roaring. They thought it was all over for them, but Kang Jin-hyuk lunged forward from behind, narrowly dodging the monster's axe strike. He successfully gained the distance hidden stat. This stat allows one to narrow the power gap when facing a strong opponent and widen it when facing a weak enemy. Every 3 points in this stat shrinks the power gap by 1 level when facing a stronger foe. Kang Jin-hyuk jumped up, touched the bull's horn to use as a pivot to push it away, and landed gracefully. After countless attempts and failures, this was the best method he had found. It was a way to make himself stronger while still at level 1. The bull roared and lunged again, but he dodged to the side effortlessly. His distance stat increased by 0.05. His body had already memorized the patterns of its attack, so dodging was as easy as pie. Every time he jumped to evade, he gained more distance stats. Park Hana's group watched him toy with the giant bull. Like a bullfighter, and they were frozen solid. Were they really planning to pick a fight with someone this terrifying? Even Park Hana, upon seeing that bull, realized that her previous plan to kill monsters and steal their loot was completely insane. The bull swung its axe again and again, but couldn't even touch a single hair on him. The bull panted, staring at him. He looked at the bull intentionally, provoking it, too slow swinging it back and forth like that, like, "Well, when are you ever going to hit me?" Sure enough, the bull went berserk, putting all its strength into a massive axe swing. Kang Jin-hyuk dodged, but intentionally let the blade graze his skin. If you want to get strong, quickly you just have to risk your life. High risk, high reward. Every time he barely dodged, the system would notify him, "You narrowly evaded a lethal attack. Your distance stat has increased by 1. Losing a few drops of blood for a stat point wasn't a bad trade, but if he made one wrong step, just one misstep, it could be fatal. He had gathered enough stats for now. It was time to end this. He glanced over at the crowd of onlookers. Seeing them trying to sneak along the wall to escape, he jumped over next to them and said coldly, "Where do you think you're going? If you want to raise your stats, you should try doing what I'm doing. Just dodge its attacks, and you'll get that hidden stat." It sounded simple enough, right? It's not that hard, give it a try. If there's a blessing, we should all share it, right? Naturally, he was going to save a share for them. The bull chased him right to where the group was standing and swung its axe. The whole group stood there in paralyzed fear. Kang Jin-hyuk only had time to pull Park Hana out of the way. After all, he still wanted to copy this girl's skill. Other than that, only Jang Cheol-seok managed to survive by retreating into a corner. The rest were turned into shredded meat under the bull's axe. Kang Jin-hyuk put his hands in his pockets, making a tisk-tisk sound. My, why are you just standing there? You should have dodged or backed away, don't you think? You little calf. Just as the bull was about to attack him again, Kang Jin-hyuk waved his hand. Bye-bye, see you later. The walls of the labyrinth shifted into a different path, blocking them and the Minotaur off, leaving it raging behind. Park Hana and Jang Cheol-seok were panting, terrified out of their minds. The two of them had just nearly died, but their companions were already all dead. Park Hana asked, "Did we lose it? It won't chase us anymore, right?" Before Jang Cheol-seok could answer, Kang Jin-hyuk explained that the Minotaur was attracted to the luminous powder from the moth he had touched earlier, so it was certain to keep chasing them. Of course, he had done that on purpose. To farm stats. He bent down, picked up a knife someone had dropped, and pointed it at the two of them. Every time the labyrinth changes, we get a little breather. Then when the little calf comes back, we can go play with it again. It's super efficient, don't you think? Park Hana couldn't even begin to imagine. So how much longer do we have to do this? Kang Jin-hyuk held up one finger. Until we leave the labyrinth. To be precise, 1 month. Upon hearing they had to stay in this living hell for another 30 days, the two of them tried to stand up. They would find another path. If they weren't with him, they wouldn't be attacked by that monster. Kang Jin-hyuk nodded in agreement. That's true. Which way are you planning to go if you just go blindly? Wandering around, it'll be even more dangerous. Hearing his question, the two of them froze. Besides that monster, this labyrinth was constantly shifting. If it didn't shift, they couldn't find their way out, let alone when it changed this fast. Park Hana swallowed hard and asked softly, "Then, do you know where the exit is, Jin-hyuk?" Kang Jin-hyuk rubbed the tip of his knife and replied, "I told you, I know this labyrinth better than anyone else. Obviously, I know where the exit is." In other words, they had no other choice. Park Hana, though not very willing, had no choice but to follow. "Do you know where the exit is, Kang Jin-hyuk?" Kang Jin-hyuk rubbed his blade and answered, "I told you already, I know this labyrinth better than anyone. Obviously, I know where the exit is." "Where is it?" In other words, the two of them were out of options. Park Hana wasn't too thrilled about it. "Guess we have no choice, we'll go." Before she could even finish, he shouted, Hey, since when is anything in this world free, huh? You want a free lunch? Keep dreaming. Come on, cough up all your coins. Don't act like you get a say in this." They followed him, clearly annoyed and looking reluctant. Meanwhile, on the Hall of Fame, a video titled Tower of Trials First Floor Goblin Dungeon was going viral. With the fastest clear time recorded, netizens outside the tower were buzzing about this player. "This is insane. Is it for real that he soloed it for 15 hours straight? If it were me, I'd have wet my pants." The video hit the #1 spot on the forum, and it was the only thing people were talking about. Everyone was discussing this player. This was Myung-gwan. In reality, it wasn't just him, but a group of friends who took down the goblins together and cleverly edited the footage. They probably made 1,000 coins just from the views alone. As the group cheered, Myung-gwan bragged, "This is the result of our hard work, thanks guys." Suddenly a comment appeared on the video from someone named The Mediator, who wrote, 15 hours and you call that short? I know someone who did it in 5. The whole group just mocked the person, saying, "Talk is cheap. Haters are everywhere, why even pay attention?" Moving on, a new video was uploaded with the title, "I am the first person in the world to successfully reinforce an item to +10. Without a doubt, this video, this shot up to the top spot, pushing Myung-gwan's video down to second. The views were skyrocketing and the comments were filled with disbelief. The success rate for reinforcing this item was 1 in 8.14 million raised to the power of 10. 10 minutes earlier in the labyrinth, Kang Jin-hyuk was making a wicked face like a slave driver exploiting labor. "Hey, pay attention. Stop standing around like idiots and get to work. We need to collect moss for bedding and wood to start a fire. We've got plenty to do." Jang Chae-ok replied, "Fine, fine, we're going all right." This guy was truly despicable. Not only did he take all their coins, but he also ordered them around. After sending those two off to find moss and wood, Kang Jin-hyuk started trading items. He now had 5,000 coins, so he needed to deal with them first. He bought a magic tarot card, an old bronze key fragment, and a piece of a wooden cart, plus 10 lucky enhancement scrolls. It only cost him 550 coins because these were junk items no one wanted. But if used correctly, they would become extremely important. By combining the card, the key fragment, and the cart piece, he would get the Fortune's Wheel, an incomplete version of the Goddess of Luck's own. His luck would be maximized for 10 minutes. However, because it was incomplete, its range was limited, and it was a one-time use. He reached out and spun the wheel hard. In an instant, his luck hit the maximum. Next, he used the enhancement scroll on his knife. The success rate was 0.000012%. That's a terrible rate, second to none. But if luck is pushed to the limit, the success rate becomes 100%. He decided to use all his enhancement attempts on this knife. The system notified him, "You have obtained old knife plus 10. Since he was the first person in the entire Korean server to create a plus 10 item, he received an additional 5,000 coins. This achievement would be recorded in the Hall of Fame. That's why Mi Ong Guan's video dropped to second place. He finally had a weapon worth using. Happy, he swung it through the air with skill to test it. Time flew by. 10 days passed. However, for Park Hana and Jang Chae-ok, it felt like an eternity in hell. The two of them sat huddled by the fire, incredibly anxious. "Everything here is awful. The bed is just straw. There's nothing to eat but moss and mushrooms, and that crazy minotaur keeps showing up. If the labyrinth didn't keep shifting, we would have been dead long ago. And on top of that, that coin-obsessed jerk acts like everything is fine. We're about to fall into depression, but he's snoring away like usual." If things kept going like this, they really would die. After getting used by him, they'd just be discarded. Park Hana went online anonymously to ask for help, but none of the people outside the tower had any good advice. Someone told them, "Why don't you just sit still? You clearly can't do anything anyway." Another said, "Don't cause trouble. You can tell by your pale faces that you're just newbies." Park Hana asked if anyone had info on that guy. But unfortunately, all videos related to people who had played the Tower of Trials before were blocked. From YouTube to personal blogs, even the videos on their phones vanished. It was like they were hacked. Park Hana helplessly held her head, unable to believe she had asked for help from those idiots outside the tower. "So did you tell the big boss about the situation here? What did UI Raven say? The people outside agreed?" That UI was looking into it. Since there was no information on this labyrinth, it would take the Griffin people at least 3 weeks to reach them. This meant she had to endure this for at least another 3 weeks. It had already been 10 days. 3 weeks would make it a full month. The guy said he wasn't sure if they'd be alive by then. They had zero information. She crossed her legs and stared at Kang Jin-hyuk's annoying back. "I'm thinking if we kill that bastard while he's sleeping and hole up in the stone room we found earlier, waiting until the boss arrives, we might be able to escape." The problem was how to kill him. Jang Chae-ok immediately grabbed a stone. "While he's sleeping like this is our chance, isn't it? Let's do it now before it's too late. No matter how strong he is, he can't survive a blow to the head." He held the stone up high, ready to strike, but Park Hana grabbed his hand, whispering, "His reflexes are godlike. Whether we face him head-on or sneak attack, we have no chance of winning. No matter what, he'll wake up right when you're about to attack and counterattack." Jang Chae-ok was scared when she said that, but they couldn't keep suffering like this. Park Hana searched her bag. Her older brother, a member of the Raven Guild, had given her something for dangerous situations. It was the stinger of a giant wasp zucchini. A single drop of this poison is enough to melt 100 goblins. If they were going to do it, they had to do it properly and in a way that wouldn't put them in danger. As Kang Jin-hyuk woke up Jang Chae-ok, "He's just going to wake up the second you try to attack him, and then he'll counterattack, you'll see." Jang Chae-ok felt a bit nervous hearing her say that, but they couldn't just keep suffering like this forever. "Fine." Park Hana walked over and rummaged through her bag. Her brother, a member of the Raven Guild, had given her something to use in case of an emergency, the stinger of a giant zucchini hornet. "A single drop of this poison is enough to melt 100 goblins. If we're going to do this, we have to finish it for good and do it in a way that won't put the two of us in danger when Kang Jin-hyuk wakes up. Jung Chaeox. And Park Hana had prepared a meal calling it a feast, but it was just mushrooms and moss chopsticks made from mouse bones and a plate made of bark. Hearing him ask, "Is this really all there is, Park Hana?" she snapped back, "What else do you want? There's nothing else edible around here. If you want more, go hunt mice and butterflies yourself. We're in this position, yet you're still being picky, Kang Jin-hyuk." Without complaining further, he just told Park Hana to hand him the water bottle and asked for some more mushrooms. Jiang Jae-shui shoved a few mushrooms onto his plate, thinking, "I can't believe you actually like this disgusting stuff." "There, help yourself," Park Hana said, handing him the water bottle while thinking, "I can't believe it. I have to serve him like this again." Those on the Hall of Fame channel were watching everything through Park Hana and were getting excited, constantly telling him to eat more, saying, "This is what people call a death meal." Park Hana was secretly happy seeing him happily eating the mushrooms when suddenly the plate of mushrooms fell and scattered all over the ground. But it wasn't Kang Jin-hyuk. It was Jiang Jae-shui who spat out a mouthful of black blood. Death energy surged from his throat, causing him to struggle as he clutched his neck. He collapsed to the ground. How foolish. Did these people really think he would eat food they provided? They're the idiots, not him. When he asked for more food while their backs were turned, he had swapped the two portions. He pulled up his system interface and glanced at her. "You guys should know that secret broadcasting is considered cheating. The broadcast function is only allowed when fighting a boss monster that blocks the path to the next floor. Anyone caught manipulating view counts or using other forms of cheating will receive the corresponding penalty." He opened his system to select Report Cheating. The system asked, "If no wrongdoing is detected, the reporter will be penalized. Do you still wish to report?" Ignoring her screams for proof, he calmly tapped yes. She had to see her own face while broadcasting. It was clearly marked. "Anything else? I'm quite disappointed that you've only made it this far, Park Hana." As soon as he reported her, a red warning circle appeared around her. The seizure was complete. Her anonymity cloak was removed. Even those who had been watching her stream were forcibly barred from viewing videos for 1 month. As for the penalty, for the violating player, it was a grim fate indeed. Before she could even grasp the penalty being handed down to her, that giant bull monster found them again. Park Hana immediately lost her short-term memory, forgetting that she had just wanted to kill Kang Jin-hyuk and hid behind his back. "You're going to fight again, right? Tell me which way to run. Get moving, it's almost here." Kang Jin-hyuk didn't turn around. "Ms. Park Hana, you really have no shame, do you? You guys were just trying to poison me, so why do you think I'd tell you where to go?" Park Hana turned pale and stammered. She thought it was only natural since he had always done that ever since they met. Sadly, the reason for him to do so no longer existed. The system appeared. It showed the requirements to copy Park Hana's skill, notifying him that he had met the conditions. The skill copy was successful. Now that he had the communication skill, he didn't need her alive anymore. Park Hana screamed, "Wait! You're going to regret this. Boss, I'm with Raven." Suddenly, the Minotaur slammed a fist onto the floor where they had been standing, sending her flying away. Kang Jin-hyuk spoke to the person sitting on the ground. "Keep your eyes peeled from there so you can learn who you should be more afraid of, me or that moronic guild." Saying that, he lunged with his blade, slashing across the bull's head. Still not good enough, but at least that caused some damage. It wasn't in vain that he had closed the distance with this monster. Since he couldn't kill it anyway, he just needed to dodge to ensure it couldn't kill him. Kang Jin-hyuk unleashed fire element, scorching it. While the bull was distracted, he jumped behind it and delivered a kick, forcing it to drop to one knee. He stood behind it, watching it kneel in place. "Don't go crazy now. Tensing up your muscles like that makes the meat hard to chew." He said that on purpose. To wait for the moment, it used its trump card. Just as he predicted, the system popped up a notification. "Minotaur Guardian of the Labyrinth has activated the skill Berserker State Level Base 10. Within 5 minutes of activation, its attack power, attack speed, and swing speed will increase by 30%. Intelligence is temporarily increased, allowing it to speak the opponent's language." The bull flexed its muscles and roared, echoing through the labyrinth. "Human, I will crush you and scatter your remaining flesh across this dungeon, so that you can never trespass here again." Kang Jin-hyuk stood before the giant monster with his blade. It seemed his mana proficiency had increased compared to before. He held his blade up in a defensive stance, saying, "Come on!" Every time the monster swung, Kang Jin-hyuk stopped dodging and met it head-on. Kang Jin-hyuk truly enjoyed the process of facing this monster. Before this, he hated starting from scratch, even though he had come so far. He could only be helpless before the fact that nothing would change, whether in real life or in the game. Everything was devilishly hard. However, after countless deaths in that trash game, he finally felt a response from this world, as if this world was created just for him. After many encounters, his distance stat continued to rise. "You're just acting tough, human. In the end, you couldn't even scratch me." No sooner had it spoken than its mouth was locked shut. Its buff duration had ended. Berserker was a skill that allowed the release of extreme power for 5 minutes. However, after the time expired, it would be unable to move for 24 hours. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't strike or do anything to it, but turned to check his distance points, which had reached 57 points. Converted to levels, that was a narrowing of 19 levels. The remaining time was 20 days. At this rate, he would reach his goal of 100 points soon. Park Hana saw the crazy bull go motionless and asked if it was over. Kang Jin-hyuk smiled brightly and replied, "It only stopped because the berserker state has worn off. If we wait another day, it will start chasing us again. We still have 20 full days, so why are you in such a hurry?" 20 days later, after dodging consecutive slashes, at the feet of the Minotaur, he had received another 0.015 distance points. Task complete. "It's already worn off. If we wait another day, he'll just start chasing us again. We've still got 20 whole days, so what's the rush?" 20 days later, after dodging a barrage of slashes, at Minato's feet, he received another 0.015 points, closing in on completion. Maintaining the perfect distance, he lunged forward and delivered an uppercut, sending the bull flying backward. Then, stepping on its horns, he muttered, "Goodbye, Black Bull." After dealing with the monster, he turned to Park Hana. "I'm officially hiring you as an intern for Go & Company. You seem a bit lacking in ambition, aren't you? Not interested." Seeing his expression shift, Park Hana immediately turned enthusiastic. "I am interested. Please let me join. I've been dying to get hired by this company." "All right, then." Seeing how eager the candidate was, Kang Jin-hyuk asked her what she could bring to the company in the future. Park Hana replied that her unique skill is networking. She believes it will be useful for future projects at the company. Kang Jin-hyuk stepped closer, staring right into her face. "I'll give you my decision. The first candidate for Go & Company is not qualified." Seeing his deathly gaze, a terrified Park Hana desperately tried to think of what else she had. She collapsed to her knees and grabbed his leg. "I'll give you Abraham's ring, my brother. Traded Korean ginseng with someone from China to get it. Please at least let me keep my life. Abraham's ring is one of the best items you can find." On the first floor, the wearer gains increased movement speed, magic resistance, and can suppress a monster's mana. Even though she was scared out of her wits, Kang Jin-hyuk had still activated his Eye of Truth to check her credibility. It was extremely high. Waiting for the system to confirm her words were true, he finally believed her. The ring was in Guri Raven's hands. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Congratulations, Park Hana. You're now an intern at Go & Company." He then explained the benefits and duties. The benefit is the company doesn't pay interns. The main duty is you must be available whenever I call. Whether it's 3 in the morning or in the middle of Jeju Island, you must comply. Of course, there has to be a contract, otherwise if you leave this maze and run away, where would I find the ring? Park Hana thought she'd have to sign a paper contract, but Kang Jin-hyuk opened his memories of the world. He combined his networking skill and fire elemental skill to create a soul seal. A bright blue flame ignited on his hand. Kang Jin-hyuk used his other hand to grip Park Hana's shoulder firmly. "This might sting a little. Welcome to Go & Company intern." The soul seal was branded onto Park Hana's face. With this seal, she must obey every order from the caster. Any act intended to harm the caster is strictly forbidden. Failure to comply causes the branded person immense pain throughout their body. After being forced into a slave contract with the rising capitalist, the maze finally opened. To see the light of day, Park Hana, after being trapped for a month, knelt on the grass, gasping for air. The system announced, "You have successfully cleared the first floor maze for the first time." The process of clearing it will be broadcast in the Hall of Fame. Each player will receive 5,000 coins. Park Hana teared up happily receiving the coins, so this was the fruit of all her hard work. Kang Jin-hyuk had walked over and called out, "Intern." Since she was happy and anxious to receive her rewards, she excitedly replied, "Yes, boss." Who would have thought Kang Jin-hyuk would reach out his hand and order, "Hand it all over to me"? One word from the boss sent Park Hana from heaven to hell. Ignoring the sobbing intern, Kang Jin-hyuk tallied his current total 10,000 coins. At this point, he was surely the richest person around. After the robbery, he ordered Park Hana to get Abraham's ring and bring it to him in 3 days. Hearing her say 3 days was too short, Kang Jin-hyuk directly adjusted the soul seal skill, shortening the deadline to 2 days. Park Hana, with a handprint seal still on her face, weakly replied, "Yes, I will do my best to get it." At the time, the two passed by a shopping center and heard the news that Gundragon would represent Korea in attacking the boss in 1 week. Everyone in Gundragon knew they were currently members of the #1 guild in South Korea. Since the US, Europe, and Japan were still struggling, the expectations placed upon them were quite high. Only a month in and they were already preparing to attack the third-floor boss. Even he wasn't that rushed. Kang Jin-hyuk wondered how much that guy would regret it when he met that boss. He understood that everyone was impatient to grab as many resources in the tower as possible, but the fixed time for each floor is 90 days. In other words, right. Now there's no need to rush to the second floor, let alone the third. Their strength wasn't enough. And if the difficulty spikes the moment you step into that world, the pressure would be immense. If humanity collapses, it's not like a game where you can just start over. The first thing to do is go home, take a shower, and gather information to see what has happened over the past month. To get quality information in a society filled with useless and false news like this, he needed people he could trust. A reliable source he had known for a long time, none other than the friends he used to grind with in the game. Tower of Trials years ago. A boy wearing a bee and butterfly outfit named Lee Taemin, and a girl wearing gloves and a pink puffer jacket named Jo Jong-ah. Meeting in person at a cafe, one was a seemingly obedient boy, and the other a slightly edgy girl. Even he, when he was their leader in that game, never expected their first meeting in reality would be like this. Kang Jin-hyuk activated his Eye of Truth to check their stats. Sure enough, as he thought, Lee Taemin had received a unique skill called Emperor Machine. This is a unique skill specializing in large-scale battles. Besides the fact that it consumes a massive amount of mana when used, this skill is truly flawless. Jong-ah also had a unique skill, the Ultimate Taekwondo, which is a skill specialized for close-quarters combat. With their levels being similar, he guessed these two had been farming monsters together. The condition to copy the skill is for all three to reach the 20th floor. Seeing him remain silent for a long time, Lee Taemin spoke up, "Hey, it's your turn." Kang Jin-hyuk was startled, introduced himself, and declared his nickname Ungapon, 27 years old and a former streamer on BJTV. As soon as he heard that, Lee Taemin said, "If it's that streamer, then he's been following him the whole time, though he's stopped watching lately." Seeing him hesitate, he waved his hand. "Come on, keep talking. It's been so long since we last met in the game." Jo Jong-ah also said, "That's right, just relax." They both seem pretty easygoing. I've been so exhausted dealing with people who just look for ways to betray or use me, but these guys, even though we just met, I feel strangely at ease with them. I can talk to them comfortably and ask about everything that happened outside the labyrinth over the past month, after they filled me in, on how guilds around the world are shifting and the trends in broadcasting. They mentioned a group called Mai that kidnaps players and runs factories. Lee Taemin asked me, "By the way, where are you headed? It's been a month, so that means you haven't taken the test yet, right?" Kang Jin-hyuk scooped up a spoonful of ice cream, looking at him confused. "What test?" The three of them climbed into a taxi. As they moved, Lee Taemin explained, "The moment the trial tower appeared, people swarmed in like crazy. But starting from the second floor, the death toll really spiked. So South Korea started banning anyone who wasn't capable enough from completing the test to move to the upper floors. Once you finish, they stamp an authentication code on your hand." Jo Jong-ah held out her hand to show him the stamp. Just by hearing that, he understood the situation. It seemed Han Sang-jin, the chairman of the Awakened Association, had successfully found a way to recruit talent under the pretext that It would minimize casualties when climbing to the second floor. Everyone bought into his act. If that association was going to play that game, he would just use it for his own benefit. Since that test was created, those who receive an F grade are not allowed to set foot on the second floor. However, if a player gets high marks, the government and guilds come rushing to recruit them. Because of that, there are 3 types of people in the testing area. The first type wants to make the rankings no matter if it's a D or an E. The second type is there to support those capable of climbing like the media and news crews. The third type are the strong ones who have already proven themselves to the world. Whenever they show up, the media goes wild. For example, Park Hana, who survived the labyrinth with her brother Park Hajin, the rising star of Good Raven. Following the two of them, was Kim Kiki from Good Abbey Gladiators. The moment they appeared, cameras flashed incessantly, not wanting to miss a single shot. Their bodyguards pushed the crowd aside, so they could move through as easily as possible. So many people here, are they planning a concert or something? The stuck-up bodyguards shoved people around. Can't you see people? Are walking, move aside. Keep it moving. Don't block the path. One guy pointed directly at Kang Jin-hyuk, who was confused about what was going on. What are you doing? Didn't you hear me say get out of the... Oh, wait. Kang Jin-hyuk saw how aggressive the guy was and pointed at himself, puzzled. Get out of the way. Why should I? I'm waiting for my turn here. Why are you telling me to move? Park Hajin saw his bodyguard couldn't handle this guy, so he stepped up, poking his finger into Kang Jin-hyuk's chest. I don't know what you want, but you're making a huge mistake. It's not too late yet. So back off before I lose my temper. Before Kang Jin-hyuk could even say anything, the crowd started whispering. Is he crazy? If he makes him lose his temper, he's a dead man for sure. Amidst the murmurs of the crowd, he realized the arrogant brat in front of him was none other than Park Hajin, the brother Park Hana kept mentioning. He stared straight at him and activated the Eye of Truth. To see his stats, his unique skill is Black Killing Technique. His other skills are Sprint, Invisibility, and Breath of Thunder. The condition to copy is that if the friendship level with the target is at maximum, he can copy the unique skill. If the hostility level toward the target is at maximum, he can copy any skill he wants. The moment he saw hostility level maximum, his eyes lit up. Isn't this his specialty, Park? Hajin saw him staring and kept poking his chest. Still looking, huh? Even after I do this, you don't even react. I have eyes and ears everywhere, you know. Think you can get away with this? Park Hana walked over to ask her brother what was wrong, but before she could finish, she saw the person standing in front of her brother. Her face went pale as if she'd seen a ghost. Why on earth did her brother have to provoke this terrifying god? Kang Jin-hyuk grabbed the finger poking him and bent it backward. After breaking his hand, Kang Jin-hyuk calmly took out some water and took a sip. Park Hajin was furious. You bastard, I'm going to tear you to pieces. As he lunged, he splashed his half-drunk water in his face and kicked the back of his knee, sending Park Hajin crashing to the ground. The crowd couldn't figure out what happened. Did he trip or dislocate his joint? Kim Kiki stepped out and said, just leave him be. Kang Jin-hyuk activated the Eye of Truth, wanting to see the guy's stats. But to his surprise, the system reported failure because the level gap exceeded the limit, rendering the skill ineffective. This guy must be over level 20. He, meanwhile, is only level 1. Kang Jin-hyuk looked at him. I didn't know this guy. Had a babysitter. Kim Kiki replied, he is a bit of a nuisance, but since he's useful, I put up with it. Is that usefulness the fact that he's supplying Korean ginseng to China? Don't ask me how I know that. The how isn't that important. Why don't you ask something more practical, like, for instance, how to handle the side effects of Korean ginseng? Seeing that this guy clearly knew a lot, Kim Kiki immediately activated hack/version level 3, creating a barrier so only he and the guy were standing inside. In short, he wanted to trade that information for 10 exclusive dungeons from him, but the guy wasn't sure if he really knew the truth. Korean ginseng is a popular consumable item known for its ability to restore stamina and mana wonderfully. However, if eaten raw, the user receives an accompanying poison effect. Because of this side effect, his guild had struggled quite a bit. He told him that to fix it, he just needed to use 3 items Carasian Essence. Moonlight Stone, and most importantly, Mandragora root. The first two were easy enough, but the root was the one thing he didn't know where to find. Therefore, upon completing the deal, he would tell him where to find them. Kang Jin-hyuk asked him, "So, do I seem more trustworthy now?" Kim Kiki didn't want to believe him, but couldn't help it because what he said perfectly matched the information from his guild's research and exploration team. Who the hell was this guy to know all these things? He held his golden blade and pointed it straight at his face. "Even though I accept this deal, if you try to pull any tricks, you're dead meat." Even with this information, the demand. The golden blade pointed straight at his face. Even though he had accepted the deal, if he tried to pull anything, he'd better watch his back. Even with this information, the demand. The 10 most valuable dungeons the guild has monopolized are still too high a price to pay. He wanted to give them a taste of reality to show them their limits. Unexpectedly, it was Kang Jin-hyuk. He whipped out his knife and swatted the guy's blade aside. "Looks like you've got the wrong idea, pal. I'm the one making the offers here." Outside the barrier, Lee Taemin and Ju Jong-ah stood back to back. As soon as the barrier was disabled, Kang Jin-hyuk stepped out unharmed and told them, "Both of you calm down." Lee Taemin lunged forward and shouted, "Just give the word, I'll paint this floor red with their blood." He raised his hands and said, "It's fine." On the other side, Kim Ki-tae had just stepped out of the barrier. As soon as Hak Pyeon turned away, Park Ha-jin, unwilling to let it go, called out to him, "Wait, you're just going to let them go, you..." He thought that if there was just one more chance, he would deal with them immediately. Kim Ki-tae, already annoyed, ran into this idiot. He grabbed the guy by the throat and lifted him up. "He's not someone a punk like you can touch. If I see you acting on your own again, I'll make you regret it. Clear." Park Ha-jin, choking and gasping for air, quickly replied, "Understood." The group turned and walked away, leaving him behind. He struggled to his knees, clutching his throat and coughing incessantly. He didn't know what the hell had happened inside that barrier, but he dared not insult him like that again. At any cost, he had to kill that bastard. While Park Ha-jin was kneeling on the ground, face beet red, muttering and cursing, Kang Jin-hyuk's copying conditions were met. He chose to copy his breathing technique. With this skill, he could control his own breathing and heart rate. Now time for the test. He looked up at the rankings. The person in first place was Park Hana. He whistled, "Whoa, an intern from my company. Did she eat ginseng before the test or something? Her score is 1,770. 5, that's impressive, nearly double the second place person." Next, it was his turn to enter the testing room. The proctor briefly explained the content of the test. The test taker would strike a mana stone block. You could use any item or unique skill you wanted. This test measured mana when striking the stone. The proctor saw him holding a sword and asked, "Are you planning to use only your weapon?" Kang Jin-hyuk replied, "That's all I need." He walked over to the largest mana stone in the room. The proctor called out, "Mr. Jin-hyuk, that's a mid-tier mana stone. Please use this low-tier one instead." Normal people couldn't even leave a scratch on mid-tier or higher stones. Ignoring the guy, Kang Jin-hyuk began to activate his total stats. It was time to see if all that time spent struggling in the maze had paid off. One swing and the mid-tier mana stone was instantly split in two. The proctor's jaw dropped in shock, unable to believe it. Most people were disqualified because their mana wasn't enough to even reach the minimum threshold of the mana stone, but he'd never seen anyone strong enough to cleave such a large stone in half. The proctor handed him the results, mana measured at 20,895, achieving an S rank. He told him to wait a moment so he could report it to his superiors. Kang Jin-hyuk said, "Hold on, I want you to delay that report. Give me a week. I have personal reasons. After a week, report whatever you want. I don't care." Seeing the guy still hesitating about sending the report, he raised his blade as a threat. "I've learned many things in life, and one of them is that faraway water can't put out a nearby fire. You understand that, right?" Leaving the testing room, he immediately stood leaning against the wall, waiting for his intern. As soon as Park Hana saw him, she held out the ring. "I'm here to give you what you asked for." Kang Jin-hyuk happily accepted it. He told her it was just in time. Seeing him take it and turn to leave, Park Hana burst into tears and chased after him. "I kept my promise now. Take this thing off me." He kept walking, waving his hand, and said, "Let's see about that." "Why would I be stupid enough to take it off? I need to see what else it can do, so keep it on. After hearing he was F rank, Lee Taemin and Ju Jong-ah looked skeptical. They were convinced his rank would be higher than theirs. Kang Jin-hyuk replied that this was only a temporary rank, he would go back to be retested next week, so they should figure it out then. He told them not to worry, and to just focus on climbing the tower, and he would be in touch later before driving away. The first test classifies the rank of players by measuring mana. Those who pass have to take a second test. The content is very simple, just clear a dungeon in the trial tower. Since the test has no limit on difficulty, most players choose dungeons with goblins or slimes. However, the dungeon he intended to clear was the only relic on the first floor. Even since the trial tower first appeared 11 years ago, and even until it appeared in the real world, that place remained a territory that no one had ever been able to conquer. It had been a long time since he last came to this labyrinth. Because he was only F rank right now, he couldn't enter that ruin alone. And even if he weren't F rank, the guild managing the ruins wouldn't just sit by and let him clear it as he pleased. So he thought of a way sign up as a porter, and just like that, he went in. Someone in the group asked him in a friendly way, "What kind of business do you have coming all the way here?" Kang Jin-hyuk replied, "To stay alive, you need a lot of money." The other guy grinned. "True, isn't it? Everyone's like that. I'm here to earn money to support my beautiful wife and lovely kids." Kang Jin-hyuk listened silently. Characters like this in stories usually die first. After showing off, the guy started rambling about how F-rankers like them always need to be very careful. Just a tiny mistake could cost you your life. Even ambulances wouldn't come to rescue you because machines don't work inside those ruins. After walking for a while, they finally reached the ruins. The mission to conquer the ruins began specifically defeat the boss and claim the golden throne in the deepest part of the ruins. The reward is the right to choose one relic. While resting with the group, Kang Jin-hyuk received a notification. The reward for being the first to conquer the tower had arrived. The reward opened, granting him 10 additional points in luck and adaptability. Frozen Heart was activated. This skill helps keep one calm in difficult situations. The exclusive passive skill was also activated. If rewards from before were stored, one could choose the best among them. It was possible. If back then choosing a decent one among thousands of rewards was good enough, now something called probability has become meaningless to him. A beam of mana light shone in the courtyard. 50 people appeared with the person in the lead wearing armor. This is the main force of Wibahie. Kang Jin-hyuk activated Truth Seeker's Eye to see the stats of the captain. His name is Song Jung-ah, level 14. His unique skill is weight reduction. The condition to copy it is to gain his loyalty through this conquest. This condition is such a pain. Still, it's strange. Isn't he the leader of a top 10 guild's main strike team? Is that really all he's got? A bit disappointing, but if they don't get in my way, that's fine. As we walked, we sorted out the ranks and groups by level. We followed behind, led by a guy in a hooded cloak. From here on out, it's going to get pitch black, everyone. Make sure you stick close to me. If you get lost, I can't save you. Right after he said that, he activated level 1, Illuminate. As the light hit, we could see the ruins inside. Monsters that the high-level advanced team had already dealt with were lying all over the place. We walked a bit further, and the porter team caught up with the high-level team. Kang Jin-hyuk took a quick look. Strange. Fighting all those monsters without a single casualty. Given the combat power I saw from Song Chung-ah earlier, that should have been impossible. As he stood there staring at the elite team, a guy from his squad walked over and slapped his shoulder. "What are you doing? Hurry up and bring the water and ice over here." "We'll handle this. You go over there and look after the foreigners." "Oh, right. I forgot I was just a porter." The foreigners he mentioned were wearing golden armor with a familiar symbol on their arms. Looking closely, it was the crest of the European upper class. There were even people bearing the Guizern crest. Seeing a rather short guy over there, he grabbed the iced water and walked over, aiming to strike up a connection. "You've done well. Drink this iced water." The person politely replied, "Thank you." Kang Jin-hyuk also activated his communication skill, so the other party would feel a sense of natural affinity from him. The short one took off their iron helmet. Unexpectedly, it was a girl. She was the youngest daughter of the European noble family Lozentia. She's a versatile player, possessing holy power capable of both attack and defense, and able to use recovery skills to support her team. She saved the entire Amsterdam suite when it was destroyed by riots. She is one of the most famous players in Europe. The Saintess of Europe, Teresa von Lozentia. Now he understood why there were no casualties. With her there, they could indeed take down the undead effectively. But why? Is everyone obsessed with climbing the tower? Why would they choose to raid these ruins, instead of challenging the third-floor boss, Eye of Truth, activated? Thanks to his luck and adaptability stats, he overcame the level gap. Teresa von Lozentia's level was already level 29. Her unique skill is Blessing of the Stars. Besides that, she has Holy Power Enhancement, Stealth Blessing of the Hand Cross, and Mirage Shield. The condition for the copy is to save this girl from a dangerous situation. With stats like that, she's truly remarkable. No wonder so many people are obsessed with her. But the status window says she's currently carrying out a job quest. It seems this is why she gave up on the boss fight to come here. Teresa returned the glass to him and said with a smile, "Thank you." Kang Jin-hyuk replied, "You're welcome." He was the one who should be saying thanks because she had just provided the opportunity for him to acquire the unique skill of the knight rumored to be the most formidable. The problem is how to create a situation that puts her in danger. Suddenly the ruins shook. Someone ran over and screamed, "Song Chung-ah! Over here, come quickly!" By the time Song Chung-ah ran over, casualties had already occurred. Their group had triggered the Guardian Crystal. The ruins' guardians had spotted the intruders. The ruins' security system, the sleeping bombs, would awaken upon external stimulus. Once awakened, they would summon guardians to protect the ruins. Song Chung-ah grabbed his head. "Leave it alone. How could this happen? Which idiot touched the crystal?" Complaining now was useless. It had already awakened. There were only 10 minutes left, and with their current combat power, facing the Guardians would be no different than walking to their deaths. At the very least, more than half the people here would be killed. If they evacuated, everyone who couldn't fight within 10 minutes, maybe they could save them. But it took so much effort for you to become team leader. How can you let it end? Like this. With a flash of thought, he resolutely ordered, "We will continue to advance inside." The people next to him immediately protested. They all said he was insane. Reinforcements hadn't even arrived yet. When the time ran out, the Guardians would swarm out from every direction. Song Chung-ah roared, "Shut your mouths and follow me. Hurry, I'll take responsibility." "No. Need to wait for reinforcements because we already have the Saintess Teresa." The solo players following behind saw that and wondered why they weren't worried. There's no way a major guild like Ba He would act without a plan. They just needed to follow the team leader's orders. Maybe the advanced strike team had already wiped out the Guardians and were just waiting for them to walk in. Like that! As time ticked by, the ruins' Guardians swarmed out from all sides. One used its giant 2 fingers to pinch someone, killing them instantly. The advanced strike team, led by Song Chung-ah. As soon as time was up, anxiously announced, "The guards have appeared. Everyone get ready to fight." The formation was arranged with tankers in front, porters retreating to the back. Everyone moved quickly, preparing buffs to support the tankers and main damage dealers. All the main dealers' skills were activated in turn: Iron Shield and Song Chung-ah's formation enhancement, Lee Chun-myung's battle song. The Guardians, as soon as they appeared, swarmed and surrounded the group. At the same time, the solo players at the back couldn't hold on anymore. They shouted, calling for help. Song Chung-ah turned his head and kept focusing on the battle. Before starting, he already knew there would be casualties. He couldn't do anything else. Now wasn't the time to worry about those guys. Compared to the guild members with tight tactical discipline, these solo players who lacked teamwork skills weren't worth mentioning. The group of solo players behind, thinking they had been abandoned, saw a pale yellow light rush in. Teresa activated her cross, slashing through several Guardians. She looked around once and realized 2 Guardians had bypassed the strike team. The members not participating in the battle were in danger. She needed to reach the supply room quickly. Teresa thought she wasn't wrong at all. Just then, the supply room was in shambles. The man who had talked to Kang Jin-hyuk earlier was also injured, leaning against the ground. "Safety, my foot. My life is ruined." A guardian saw that he wasn't resisting, raised its weapon to strike down. Kang Jin-hyuk blocked it with his knife, slashing at it repeatedly. He stood between the porter and the guardian. "What are you talking about? It's not me. I told you we're going to survive this together and get out of here." Just then, the ruined guardian shifted its focus to him after he blocked its path, reaching out to grab him, but Kang Jin-hyuk dodged it. He activated his fire elemental skill, launching a counterattack that scorched it into tiny pieces. Surely someone would come to land the finishing blow, but he still needed to get used to it. "I can't kill it yet with this fire elemental skill. But I can't believe those people who went ahead dared to wake up the guardians in this brutal ruin. There's no benefit in doing that." So who could have done it? Just as Teresa came sprinting over to help, the sight that met her eyes was Kang Jin-hyuk holding a knife with a devious look on his face, while another porter had sat trembling on the ground with a terrified expression. Moving with lightning speed, she jumped in to shield the porter. "I thought you were a good person, but I never expected you to be the type to use a knife. To threaten someone who can't even fight. So you're the one who woke up the guardians. I'm arresting you. I just did a good deed and didn't get rewarded, and now I'm being framed." Kang Jin-hyuk pointed at his own baffled face, asking, "Say what now?" Teresa didn't waste words and attacked directly to apprehend him. "Don't resist. I don't want to hurt you. I'll let you explain yourself at the association." Kang Jin-hyuk dodged her blows repeatedly, saying there was a misunderstanding, but Teresa wasn't listening at all. This girl kept saying she didn't want to hurt him, but every single strike she landed was earth-shaking. It seemed she was having too much fun to even hear him out. Since it's like that, don't blame him for not showing mercy. As she raised her shield to attack again, he sidestepped, tripped her, and sent Teresa face-planting into a hole. Kang Jin-hyuk sat cross-legged to the side and held his knife right against her neck. Only in this position did she finally agree to listen. "I wasn't the one who woke the guardians. If I had done that, you'd already be dead right here." Everything happened so fast. At this moment, the person who had been rescued, Bish, was startled and shouted, "Miss Teresa, Mr. Kang, why are you two fighting? Mr. Kang is the one who saved me." Now it was the Saintess's turn to be speechless. The rescued man had barely turned his back when she immediately bowed 90 degrees, apologizing repeatedly. "I am truly sorry. I am genuinely sorry. I just did something completely unnecessary." Kang Jin-hyuk waved his hand, brushing it off, saying he didn't take it to heart. Anyone would have misunderstood. The two of them continued moving forward to regroup with the others. Teresa wondered, "Your name is Jin-hyuk, right? Why are you hiding your identity?" Kang Jin-hyuk replied that he was just like her. She joined the Zion Guild to stay under the radar, while in reality she was completing a job quest to obtain the item Oath of St. Peter, and he was also secretly searching for an item of his own. Teresa heard him mention Dora. How could he possibly know about these things? Kang Jin-hyuk continued. "Besides, I'm also well-versed in everything about these ruins. With my current skills, I believe I can count on you. Furthermore, the item we both want is in the same area. So what do you think? Can I come with you?" When they regrouped with the party, they heard Teresa say she would be going separately. Song Jung-ah disagreed. "No way, are you crazy? We need to concentrate our forces and move forward. What on earth do you mean by wanting to go solo?" Teresa defended herself, saying he already had the map leading to the storage point and they already knew the strategies. "So whether I stay or go doesn't matter much. Besides, from the start, the agreement between both sides was that we could move independently before facing the boss." Song Jung-ah didn't want to agree because the situation had changed, but since that was the agreement, she had to accept it and warned her that she still had to regroup with them at the edge of the ruin. Teresa was frantically grateful and said she wanted to choose a porter to assist her. Song Jung-ah, overwhelmed by everything, just told her to do whatever she wanted, as long as she promised to come back. When Teresa went over to the porters to choose someone, everyone thought she would surely head into some dangerous place, so they looked everywhere, except at her, terrified of making eye contact and getting dragged along. Kang Jin-hyuk raised his hand and volunteered. Immediately, his colleagues pinned him down, advising him that going with her was a death sentence. "Nothing is more precious than your life. Even if she's beautiful, you only live once. Listen to us, kid." Given this atmosphere, how was he supposed to? "Hey, leave, oh well. Looks like I'll have to take a gamble." Kang Jin-hyuk, under the bewildered gaze of everyone, began to spout some sappy lines. My dear lady, do you feel a burning desire when you look at a strapping young man like me? For me, this moment is the time to burn with the love of my life, even if I have to pay with my life. I am willing. After he finished speaking, everyone around them was left speechless with looks on their faces like they'd just stepped in dung. In a flash, they watched him leave with Teresa successfully splitting from the team. The two of them found the place where the item they were looking for was kept. Teresa said, "Look, the oath of St. Peter is inside the red coffin surrounded by a bunch of zombies keeping guard. To get it, they needed to remove the barrier on the coffin." Before the two could do anything, the system sounded a red alert. The Lord of the Fallen Corridor is hunting you. There was no doubt about it. This was a warning from the boss. It definitely had no interest in other players, but now it was focused on him. Teresa asked if this meant it was focused on both of them. He confidently replied, "No, that boss is focused on me." This guy was certainly overconfident, but she still wondered, "Oine. If he claimed to know everything about this place, what should she do next?" Following his instructions, Teresa jumped from high above into the middle of the swarm of zombies and activated the level 5 War Chant skill. All stats would be increased by 3 for 10 minutes. What she needed to do was quite simple. Just attracting the zombies' attention was enough. As long as she used her holy power, the zombies would be terrified of her. Teresa's holy power was boosted to level 5, and a light like a miniature sun radiated out, making the zombies constantly retreat and avoid her. They were terrified as if they were being burned. Wherever she advanced, they retreated. This was the moment to move forward. Kang Jin-hyuk also jumped down, stepping on the heads of the zombies. Most of the zombies were distracted by Teresa, and by delegating it to her, like this he wouldn't level up. But unintentionally. Following that, a much stronger aura of death, red and black, arrived. The Reaper of the Ruins, a high-rank lich, had appeared. It was a monster, covered in a black cloth over a skeleton holding a red and black scepter. Besides the high-rank lich, there was also a headless knight that wanted to punch him. Kang Jin-hyuk leaned back to dodge the attack. He hadn't expected to run into a headless knight here. It seemed things had changed since he brought Teresa here. The dark light of the lich. The high-rank lich can easily wipe out the headless knights and the undead. Whether they fly or crawl, they're bound to get hit by stray fire. Even a level 3 barrier would be crushed by its dark light. That's why he intentionally danced around the coffin barrier, baiting the lich's attacks. As long as they missed him, hitting anything else would work in his favor. After dodging a few moves, the coffin barrier was shattered by the dark light. Once the level 5 energy shield collapsed, Kang Jin-hyuk dismembered the headless knight. Teresa also finished off her side quickly. All that remained of Freddy's undead horde were the walking skeletons. Before he even had to lift a finger, a vertical sword strike split the spine in two. The newcomer stepped on the lich's head. The high-rank lich walked toward him. "Found you. You're the only one capable of tracking the monster's behavior, so I was pretty sure you'd show up here. Long time no see. You must have missed me, right?" Kang Jin-hyuk looked at him. "Who the hell are you?" He activated Eye of Truth again, using his luck and adaptability to compensate for the level gap. The status window showed the newcomer's name was Chun Ju-sung, a level 29 swordsman. His unique skill is Sword Song. The condition to copy it is to defeat him in a duel to shatter Chun Ju-sung's delusion that he is the world's greatest swordsman. The sharp blade named Ganjiang that this guy was holding was an artifact, stolen from the National Museum of Korea before he even arrived. Remembering back when the trial tower was still just a game, there was a guy he had defeated who kept challenging him regardless of where he was or what he was doing. Kang Jin-hyuk asked him, "Are you that creepy stalker?" Chun Ju-sung was furious. Just the thought that he didn't recognize him, all because the trial tower had become reality, made him feel that was all he was worth in the other man's eyes. "Ah," Kang Jin-hyuk covered his face. "I remember now. He just couldn't believe that the guy had been tracking him since the game days until now." Chun Ju-sung pointed his sword at him, wanting to duel again. "This time it'll be different. We are both starting from zero now. I won't be left behind by you again." He wouldn't stop him if he wanted to fight. He actually wanted to beat him to copy his skill, but this place wasn't the right spot. His teammates wouldn't sit idly by if they fought. Seeing his teammate Teresa was quite a nuisance, but he wouldn't let anyone interfere. Not a chance. Chun Ju-sung activated Battle Domain Level 5. Immediately, the two of them vanished right in front of Teresa. Having said his goodbyes to her, he raised his sword in a stance. No one will bother us. Not a soul. Once again, he issued a challenge while activating his resistance skill. All of his stats increased by 10%, while Kang Jin-hyuk's stats decreased by 10%. He was being suppressed by this guy's battle domain and resistance skills. This situation was becoming disadvantageous. Coincidentally, when falling into a disadvantageous situation, the special condition of the fusion skill activates. When the situation becomes unfavorable for meeting the initial copying requirement, the condition is modified. Activation. Set copy skill without meeting the condition. Of course he chose to copy his unique skill. The sword song skill would boost his sword mastery stat by 200%. His body would automatically execute the most efficient sword strikes, and his senses were also enhanced. For Chun Ju-sung, the thing he hated most was being ignored like air. Seeing him, just standing there paying no mind, he lunged forward to slash. Kang Jin-hyuk used his dagger to parry. Clang, clang. You bastard. What the hell are you planning? What's with your mid-tier combat skill set? Are you really fighting me with just that dagger? He nonchalantly parried the strikes and laughed in response. This much is enough. Your swordsmanship is actually pretty fun. If he didn't open his mouth, that would be fine. But once he spoke, he drove people insane. Chun Ju-sung activated his soul-chasing spirit blade skill to trade blows with him, before either of them could land a hit. The floor had already been carved with 2 long gashes. Kang Jin-hyuk dodged and asked, "Isn't that a bit much, using spiritual power from a holy sword to fight a novice swordsman like me?" "Ugh!" Chun Ju-sung roared as he swung, raising his other hand and flipping him off. "The hell I am! You're no novice!" He wasn't a novice, but if he used his blade to block the spiritual energy, it would snap. So he had to use the ghost soul pill he'd just picked up from the high-rank lich. Fusing sword song with the ghost soul pill created the Deathground sword, something capable of countering the spiritual energy from his sword. A blinding purple light flashed. The system notified him that he had obtained the Deathground sword. This sword increases sword mastery by 500%. This is the necessary skill to earn the Ghost Swordsman title. He activated both the Deathground sword and the Dark Moon. Though this wasn't the full extent of this skill's power, his mana still wasn't enough to use it as he wanted. As a result, the dagger in his hand felt like a living thing controlling his hand. The surreal power from the dagger made Chun Ju-sung break into a cold sweat. He was in his ideal environment, using 2 mid-tier skills that should have completely outclassed this brat. Back in the game, he had received countless "you have died" notifications. Even now out here, he had done everything in his power to defeat him just once, yet he still couldn't. Realizing this made Chun Ju-sung even more unable to accept it. He charged forward, slashing repeatedly. Kang Jin-hyuk, driven by the dagger's control, performed a few slashes that blew away his spiritual energy. "You just blew away my spiritual energy." He replied, "I've fought people much faster than you. They used things far stronger than your sword, so you're really nothing." Another round of sword. Clashing began, but this time he was the one attacking, and the other guy was barely holding on. After a few seconds, his sword was knocked away and embedded in the ground. "Looks like I won, though I have no idea what number this is." He didn't remember, but the other guy remembered it all clearly. It was 138 times. Chun Ju-sung sat on the ground in despair, saying, "Just kill me." Kang Jin-hyuk dusted off his shoulders. "Looks like it'll be 139. And next time, you need to understand that the tower is no place for games. This is a place where even high-ranking players can lose their lives if they let their guard down, so we need as many people as possible. Playing as much as possible, especially when they're as strong as you, actually requires 60 days to copy the same person's skills, so he couldn't kill them yet. Plus, he didn't even need to bother looking for this guy to copy him anyway. The kid is going to come find him to challenge him and hand over those skills regardless." He shook hands with Chun Ju-sung and activated his communication skill. To build up some rapport, he turned around and declared, "I lost this time, but remember the next result won't be like today." Then he deactivated his battle barrier. Chun Ju-sung turned and asked him, By the way, I still don't know your real name. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't answer, instead firing back, "Our relationship hasn't reached that level yet, has it? Why the hell are you asking?" He wasn't too stubborn about it. If he didn't know the name, he'd just use his in-game nickname. Thinking of that nickname, the one that made people unable to look him in the eye, he shouted, "Wait!" But it was too late. Chun Ju-sung opened his mouth and called him Fart Face. Teresa, standing nearby, also went blank and repeated Fart Face at the same time. Dussie. Outside, Song Jung-ah and her crew were still struggling to deal with the tough monsters. They thought they had cleared out a few, but suddenly a group of iron guards popped out of nowhere. Boom. And there was someone right above them. It was a high-level vampire. He bowed politely and introduced himself as Velos, a loyal servant serving Jinzo, the master of this ruin. A second ago he was polite. The next he bared his sharp fangs and grinned wickedly. Song Jung-ah broke into a cold sweat and irritably asked what his goal was. There had to be a reason he showed his face here. Velos acted superior. Even with a sword pressed to his neck, he didn't show any fear. He offered two choices, though it sounded more like a mandatory ultimatum. One was to follow him quietly, the other was to become a hostage and his lunch. As he spoke, Velos unleashed his blood frenzy, controlling everyone present and took them back to his territory. Meanwhile, Teresa and Kang Jin-hyuk had obtained the ice crystal and the demon soul stone. Kang Jin-hyuk looked at the ice crystal in his hand and kept rubbing it. He thought to himself, "I can't believe it. This thing was so hard to find, yet I got it. Truly, it's better to be lucky than good." Along with Teresa's holy power, his stats also managed to tag along and increase by 12. Right then, the Saint Knight received a message that made her look extremely panicked. It stated that the owner of the fallen monastery had sent an invitation. Specifically, if she wanted to rescue her raid team, she had to come to the room deep within the ruins. If she accepted the mission, the monsters and traps leading to that room would be deactivated. Just reading the part about the raid team being captured made Teresa's expression change. She said sorrowfully that she had to go. Even if she could only save one single person, she wouldn't hesitate at all. Her mouth said she wouldn't hesitate, but immediately after she felt something was off. She asked herself if she could actually defeat Jinzo. What would happen if she became her toy, just like she wanted? Teresa sighed, regretting that if she had gone with them back then, this might not have happened. Those laments from the pretty girl reached Chun Ju-sung's ears, but he didn't like meddling, so he just ignored it and said his farewells before leaving. Unable to keep his mouth shut, he felt the need to point something out. Chun Ju-sung looked at Kang Jin-hyuk with annoyance and anger, then said, "If you find yourself having a hard time making a decision, then take my advice. That guy over there has absolutely no shame, and he's selfish as hell. That's one of the reasons I keep challenging him." Damn, this guy is giving advice while also trashing someone else's kid. Chun Ju-sung was visibly annoyed, but continued, "But I'm pretty sure of one thing. The only person in this world who can defeat Jinzo right now is that bastard." Teresa heard this and smiled to herself. She didn't doubt it immediately, walking up to grab Kang Jin-hyuk's hand and proposing they team up. Kang Jin-hyuk played it cool, but still put on airs. "My fees aren't cheap, you know." "Are you sure about this?" Money was something Teresa didn't lack. She replied instantly, promising to give him as much as possible if he just helped her defeat Jinzo. "All right then, that works for me." Naturally, he agreed immediately, and so shortly after both of them headed to the deepest room in the monastery. Just standing in front of the door, the amount of spiritual energy radiating from inside made their hair stand on end. Kang Jin-hyuk reassured Teresa, "Don't be afraid. In a fight, it's not always the strongest who wins." As soon as the door opened, he reminded her that no matter what happened inside, she just needed to place absolute trust in him. Truly, sweet talk is deadly. A flirtatious line that would make anyone fall head over heels. As the gate swung open, the boss greeted them with a look of exhaustion. "You're finally here. I've been waiting until I'm tired." Kang Jin-hyuk didn't bother answering. He was only focused on whether his people were still safe or not. After that, he used his hawk eye to check. Who the hell had woken up those guards? Oh, so that's the pair. So it was that bastard Park Ha-jin. "Once I get out of here, I'll deal with you later." Not letting them ask questions, Jinzo impatiently stated why she invited them. That was because of the scent radiating from Kang Jin-hyuk. He thought it was B.O., but no, she sensed the sweetest scent she had ever smelled. A scent, completely different from anyone else. Jinzo said this while showing an uncontrollable excitement, acting almost like a pervert. Kang Jin-hyuk heard this and was genuinely freaked out. Is this woman seriously talking about the smell of my blood? She didn't say anything like that before. Seeing her target looking uncomfortable, Jinzo painstakingly explained that she was the type of person who liked to savor things. So he could live for at least 60 years, meaning there was no need to be afraid. 60 years, just thinking about it, was terrifying. What's the difference between that and being stuck with this woman? For his whole life with a straw stuck straight into his neck, Kang Jin-hyuk refused instantly. But before he could finish his sentence, he was hit by a laser blast that grazed his cheek. I didn't ask for your opinion. You don't have the right to speak here, Jinzo shouted, sitting up angrily. Seeing his ally almost meet her end, Teresa asked if he was okay. Kang Jin-hyuk looked dark and replied, I'm fine. Turning to reprimand the fierce Jinzo, he then offered to give her something even sweeter than his own blood. Hearing that there was something even better than a meal, she became curious and asked. Still, she remained half skeptical, half believing. No matter what you offer, I won't change my mind. Unfazed by the rejection, Kang Jin-hyuk pressed on, trying to make his point. Are you sure about that? Even if I offered you your freedom. A second ago she had been so adamant, but now she flipped faster than a pancake. Freedom, you say? When the vampires beside her heard the word freedom, they bristled, ready to tear their prey apart. They bared their fangs and shouted, How dare you speak like that, you insolent human! I'll rip you to shreds! Before their master could speak, she gestured for them to stay silent, then pressed Kang Jin-hyuk for answers. It was going according to plan. He immediately put his mask on. Muttering under his breath, he began, My name is Kang Jin-hyuk. As the incarnation of the demon human in the tower, I will set you free from this place. It sounded somewhat plausible. Demon humans are people who have discarded their humanity for money, hatred, or even their own beliefs. They do everything in their power to stop other players from climbing the tower, sometimes even siding with the monsters of the Labyrinth or the Z-Corp. Kang Jin-hyuk continued. I've contacted the temple on the 27th floor regarding your presence and how to bypass the Z-Corp's protective barriers. That was what they had told him. Teresa, standing behind him, was bewildered. What the hell was going on? Why was he suddenly acting like a demon human? What was this temple, and why did they seem so terrified? On the other side, even though Kang Jin-hyuk knew about the temple, Jinso still didn't trust him. After all, anyone could claim they could solve a problem that no one else could. You're pushing your luck with that silver tongue of yours. I don't believe you. You have such sweet blood. What a pity. Die. After hearing Kang Jin-hyuk's gibberish, Jinso stood up. She activated her blood spear to attack her prey. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't budge an inch. Teresa, standing behind him, immediately rushed forward to intercept using all her strength. Kang Jin-hyuk, hide behind me. I'll use my holy power to block them. She dodged the attacks while protecting her ally. Jinso, witnessing this, couldn't help but laugh out loud. When it was over, she sneered, Ha, watching you exhaust all your energy just to block a few hits. How pathetic. But I hate holy power. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm going to blow you away. Ignoring the threats in front of her, Teresa remained overconfident, placing absolute trust in Kang Jin-hyuk, who stood behind her. But oh, what a surprise. You trust your friends and they stab you in the back. What a surprise indeed. A blade from behind pierced through Teresa, and its wielder was none other than Kang Jin-hyuk. The girl was so stunned she couldn't speak, but she still tried to grab her ally to ask why. She whimpered, using her last bit of strength to wheeze out, You said you had a plan. Is this your plan? Forget the damn plan. Kang Jin-hyuk responded by slashing her a few more times, which greatly satisfied Jinso, who laughed in delight. Kang Jin-hyuk knew his chance had arrived. He pulled out Abraham's ring and said, To deceive the prison's protective layer, Alice, I've prepared a 7-star spell. If I seal your soul into this ring, the barrier will be temporarily fooled. The magic circle will disappear forever after 1 minute. The magic will activate when... You agree. The decision is yours. What will you do now? Jinso seemed shaken, but to be safe before stepping into the magic circle, she warned her confidant Belus, if he makes any suspicious moves, destroy the magic circle and kill him. Despite the precautions, she hated agreeing to a spell she had never heard of. But having been trapped here for so long, she decided to go all in. Jinso slowly stepped into the magic circle Kang Jin-hyuk had set up. She asked him one last time if she could really trust him. Kang Jin-hyuk calmly replied by gently lifting her finger and simultaneously activated his negotiation level, one skill to boost her affection. It seemed Jinso had opened her heart. I, Alice von Ataraxia, accept the soul seal. She spoke, and then the ring immediately fulfilled its duty, absorbing Alice's soul inside. Once completely absorbed, Alice didn't feel too bad. She thought it would be suffocating, but it was surprisingly comfortable. When everything was done, Kang Jin-hyuk finally breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, the Blessing of the Stars skill activated under Teresa's feet. She suddenly sat up. Kang Jin-hyuk turned and gave a gentle smile. Welcome back, he said. It turned out Teresa could revive once as long as the death wasn't sudden, and it took 240 hours to reset the skill. No wonder he had been so ruthless earlier. He had planned it all along, he just hadn't told the person involved. Alice, inside the ring, finally realized she was the one who had been played. Furious, she ordered Bellis to skewer this lying bastard. Her minion gritted his teeth. I've got so much work, everything falls on me. I told you not to trust him from the start, but you wouldn't listen. Now you're calling for help. This is exhausting. Bellis immediately cast a blood-boiling skill to attack. Crimson Storm surged like a tempest. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't hold back either, immediately using fire elementals to counter. The two were evenly matched 50-50. Neither side was willing to give in. While the monsters were fighting, Teresa quickly rescued the hostage. The two fought for a while without reaching a conclusion. Bellis couldn't believe a human could withstand his magic. He had to pause for a few seconds to regain his composure. Seeing this, Kang Jin-hyuk kindly explained that his magic and fire were completely opposing each other. Furthermore, the guy had a misunderstanding because the very moment his master was sealed in the ring, he had already lost. And in truth, everything was exactly as he had said. Kang Jin-hyuk immediately activated his unique skill from the Earth Sword, completely defeating Bellis's Dark Soul Sword along with all the lackeys trailing behind him. Watching this scene, Song Jung-ah couldn't help but gape in shock to the point where he blurted out, "Teresa, who the hell is that guy?" The girl froze for a moment, thinking that if the opponent wore a mask, he probably didn't want to reveal his identity. So she replied to Song Jung-ah that she didn't know she had just met him on the way to this place. When it was over, she turned toward Kang Jin-hyuk, who was walking over. She suddenly shed tears and thanked him for helping her save everyone. Kang Jin-hyuk was stunned for a few seconds, but then immediately returned to normal because that very expression of gratitude had satisfied the condition. He had saved Teresa's life and succeeded, copying the star's blessing skill. Just what I needed. Kang Jin-hyuk quickly urged the girl, who was still busy sobbing, to hurry up and grab the holy artifact so they could get out of there, but before he could finish, while the others were still trying to wrap their heads around how many items were there, Song Jung-ah suddenly popped out of nowhere and cut in. Hold on. I'm the leader of the raid team. All items from this conquest belong to the Hobbin Guild, don't they? Not letting this guy drag it out. Kang Jin-hyuk glared at him, his voice dripping with disgust. I saved your life, and now you're demanding a share of the ruin's reward, Song Jung-ah. Song Jung-ah scrambled to explain that they would give him other rewards money or whatever could satisfy him. Oh, so Song Jung-ah wanted to regain some face for his guild. Even though he'd been taken hostage, bringing back the holy artifacts would help restore their reputation. Seeing the guy was somewhat sincere, Kang Jin-hyuk agreed to the trade, but not without a warning. If anything goes wrong, don't come crying to me. Song Jung-ah didn't have the time to worry about the consequences. He hurriedly grabbed the holy relic in front of him with a greedy look. But immediately Karma hit a bolt of electricity arced across his body, sending him flying backward. That's a curse hidden inside Merlin's staff. It's a holy artifact that can only be safely claimed when Alice is skewered. However, she's currently stuck in the ring so touching it brings dire consequences. Song Jung-ah had no clue what was happening. He kept screaming, "What the hell is this, Teresa?" She just stood there, blank-faced, hand over her mouth, frozen in shock. Kang Jin-hyuk had to walk over and nudge her. Stop staring at this mess, just ignore him. A few hours later at the entrance to the Tower of Trials, countless reporters and journalists were swarming the area waiting for the tower clearers to emerge. They were skeptical because the experts had said it would take at least 3 weeks to finish the conquest. But they kept waiting, clinging to the slim bits of information. As they say, waiting is always a form of happiness, even if you don't know if it's coming sooner or later. And at that very moment, the notification that the labyrinth of the fallen ruins had been conquered was broadcasted. Department head Kim Tae-chun of the Awakened Association hadn't even finished the cigarette he'd just lit before he dropped it in surprise. The survivors of the raid began to walk out one by one. Flashbulbs popped everywhere, cameras clicking incessantly as the crowd kept chanting Ha-bin's name, congratulating them on the conquest. But the real shocker was still to come. What left everyone stunned was Song Jung-ah's completely bald head. Not even an eyebrow was left. Everyone assumed he must have fought so hard that all his hair fell out. Some people even shed tears, exclaiming, "What the hell happened in there?" However, before they could speculate further, Teresa stepped out with a radiant smile. She happily announced that Song Jung-ah, it was not the one who conquered these ruins. Instead, she pointed to Kang Jin-hyuk, introducing him as the one who did the work while they were just spectators watching his performance. The crowd went wild, and the very next day, a series of reports about the masked man started appearing all over the news, filled with flowery praise. Although he knew this would cause a stir, it was far beyond what Kang Jin-hyuk had expected. As he chewed on a bowl of hot noodles, he quietly thought, "I'm a genius. Luckily, I wore a mask, otherwise this place would have been packed with people ages ago." After finishing his noodles, Kang Jin-hyuk remembered Alice was in the ring, so he pulled her out to mess with her. Alice, still thinking she was the queen of that monastery, kept shouting aggressively, "How dare you stuff me into that dark, smelly bag all day, you... Do you know who I am?" Hearing this woman, she threatened him. Kang Jin-hyuk's face suddenly shifted, becoming incredibly wicked. He then used all his might to shake the necklace. Alice still wasn't broken. She started ranting about her grudge and ordered him to stop. In this situation, it was clear who had the upper hand. Kang Jin-hyuk was definitely going to see it through to the end. He couldn't let this slide. He thoroughly enjoyed playing with the vampire's suffering. Despite Alice screaming her lungs out for help or mercy, that jerk kept shaking the necklace for 3 more hours. Once he'd had his fun, Kang Jin-hyuk changed to a condescending tone. "Stop crying and come. Out, Alice." After so many days stuffed in the bag, she was finally released. The first thing she uttered was that she would exact her revenge. "I will make you taste humiliation 1,000 times worse than I..." Wait, before she could finish her sentence, she realized something was wrong. Instinctively, she pointed at herself and screamed, "What the hell is this?" Kang Jin-hyuk put on a look of total innocence, saying he had transformed a part of her during the sealing process so she could be called a miniature Alice, and she wouldn't be able to use even 1% of her true power. Well, 1% is what made her end up like this, truly cruel beyond words. But even at 1% power, she was still much stronger than regular vampires. Alice was heartbroken, tears streaming down her face as she clutched her face and wailed. She couldn't accept this reality. The freedom she wanted wasn't like this. To make her stop sobbing, Kang Jin-hyuk cut in, promising that he would help her get the freedom she wanted. "Alice von Ataraxia, if you help me, I will eliminate those who betrayed you and help you restore your position as the head of the Ataraxia family." A few hours later, after Kang Jin-hyuk's boss clearing video was posted to the Hall of Fame, it caused another explosion in public opinion. A conquest that everyone thought would be a failure had turned around with the arrival of the person, wearing the mask, bringing a fresh breeze. Luckily, it wasn't a bad breeze. Countless positive comments, even popular channels were liking and subscribing. That's how hot it was. At this very moment, Kang Jin-hyuk stood right in front of a famous guild. The shady deals or corruption of the big guilds weren't his problem, but whether they dared to eliminate him was the real question. Of course, Kang Jin-hyuk wouldn't let that happen, and for people like them, he would wipe them all out. Putting on his mask, Kang Jin-hyuk stormed alone into the top floor of the Guri Raven building, where Chairman Shin Ji-yoon-soo was putting on an act punishing Park Ha-jin for failing to eliminate the rival in the ruins. He was shouting wildly then, "Kick that bastard. Our guild's reputation is being dragged through the mud, and we're losing everything just because you couldn't teach those punks who dared to humiliate us a lesson. You useless piece of trash." Ironically, the old man who was just abusing his staff is now getting a taste of his own medicine from Kang Jin-hyuk. Seeing his rival arrive, Park Ha-jin frantically seizes the chance, thinking, this is his golden opportunity to restore his honor in front of the chairman. But it's pathetic. Park Ha-jin is nothing but a mosquito taken down by a single strike from Kang Jin-hyuk. Sent flying. Kang Jin-hyuk sits proudly on the chair, completely relaxed, not even bothering to look at the guy who's losing his mind and preparing to skewer him. Shin Jong-soo, blinded by rage, activates his speed sword skill and charges straight at him to stab him. Kang Jin-hyuk stays seated, and with just a single go piece, he snaps the opponent's sword in two. Shin Jong-soo, with a dumbfounded look on his face, wonders, a game piece. Then the old man starts mouthing off, are you here for revenge just because I tried to kill you? You destroyed this whole place just for that. Oh, give me a break. You try to kill someone and then ask a question like that. You deserve to be pounded. Even as the chairman Shin Jong-soo keeps getting served humble pie, and when that doesn't work, he tries to threaten him with petty tactics. We have 50 rankers away right now because they're climbing the tower. If you dare touch me, they will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. Blood will never stop. Hatred breeds more hatred. Unless one side chooses to forgive, the cycle of reincarnation will never end. Listening to his logic, Kang Jin-hyuk feels embarrassed for him. Fine, let's end this. How about this? I'll be the one taking revenge and you guys can forgive me. He says that then, sends him straight to meet his ancestors in the blink of an eye. Park Ha-jin, who had been knocked several meters away, is still lying there like a statue, passed out in pain, not daring to make a peep. Kang Jin-hyuk decides to spare him for the time being because the intern Park Hana had helped him quite a bit. Before leaving, Kang Jin-hyuk suddenly notices the gatekeeper, who is playing dead, so he calls him out and tells him to introduce his profile immediately. The guy hears that and hurriedly stands at attention, putting on a serious, respectful face. I'm Kim Hee-won, 26 years old. I'm responsible for the general management of the GUI Guild. My major at Stanford University was computer science and accounting. You can trust me to handle everything. It seems quite impressive, better than a guy who's been grinding games for 11 years like himself, plus he looks pretty handsome. Not wanting to waste a guild that is on the rise, Kang Jin-hyuk decides to hand over the guild leader position to this guy. Kim Hee-won is startled, shocked to the point of falling backward. He says he's the leader, but in reality he only wants him to handle keeping up the guild's appearance. Kim Hee-won still can't fully accept this. But if I become the leader, no one will follow me, he says, pointing to his own dumb-looking face, and screaming. But Kang Jin-hyuk had already calculated this. There's no way anyone would agree to a secretary who doesn't know how to fight suddenly jumping to the top spot. He tells him to rest easy. There will be someone else to deal with those who object. And immediately every single member of the guild, regardless of who they are, whether eating, sleeping, or hunting monsters, everywhere receives a notification to report to the top floor of the headquarters. What the hell? Why an emergency meeting while we're so busy? A guy busy farming monsters curses after reading the news. However, a few hours later, they all have to scramble to get there. As soon as they reach the foot of the building, they are hit by the sight of the chairman's body lying motionless and the ruined, desolate state of the headquarters. Not to mention the person currently sitting in the chairman's seat is Kim Hee-won, which leaves everyone stunned to the core. The A-rank players of the GUI Guild see this and immediately move to confront him, asking him to recount exactly what happened in detail. Kim Hee-won only dares to whisper and mutter that someone new was entrusted with the leader position. However, this guy is still clueless. After seeing Alice's small figure beside him, he blurts out two words. This kid, Alice, instantly flies into a rage. Who did you just call a kid? She says that, then lets the guy know what manners are. Kang Jin-hyuk, watching this from below, can't help but feel a headache. I told you to manage the guild, what the hell are you doing? Just then he receives a message from the Awakened Association informing him that his test results are in. Kang Jin-hyuk dashes over quickly to get his certificate. It's been about 2 months since the tower appeared. The world order has changed since then, and people are gradually getting used to it. At the same time, the news is reporting specifically about the masked man. It attracts great attention because a relic that a whole major kingdom couldn't do anything about was conquered by a single person. Now only 2 people know the true identity of the masked man. One is Uncle Kim, the leader of the Porter Group. The uncle happily agreed to keep the secret. And finally, Teresa also agreed to take it to her grave. Kang Jin-hyuk feels relieved enough to take action. All conditions have been met. Now nothing can hold him back. It really is time for him to take everything. At the Awakened Association, Kang Jin-hyuk receives his awakening certificate and is free to go monster farming. It's just that he's trying to hide his true strength, so he's only an F rank, obviously. Here, he also meets his two former friends again. When they find out he is the leader of the Seven, they are very happy. After greeting each other, Kang Jin-hyuk gets angry and turns to scold Alice for daring to blow up the building just because she was called a kid. You've lived for nearly 1,000 years and you can't handle a few provocations. The girl isn't having it either, revealing her fangs and snapping back looking petulant. Well, nobody has ever provoked me like that. Kang Jin-hyuk is dumbfounded. He doesn't know what kind of creature she is anymore. He gives up and stops arguing with her. Then he asks her to come with him, to go hunting. After being scolded now, he has to go hunting with her. Alice angrily tells him to go by himself. Don't you have hands and feet? Kang Jin-hyuk doesn't say much and drags her along because he's about to hunt a bunch of monsters, so he needs someone to support him. So there are still hunting grounds left, which makes Alice quite excited because other guilds are competing to manage all the profitable dungeons. So there aren't any hunting grounds left. Wait, that's what others think. Naturally, that's not what Kang Jin-hyuk thinks. He knows the tower very well. On the first floor of the Tower of Trials, the Moon Lake is famous for having the most beautiful scenery in the training tower. Ironically, now no one visits this place. There are 12 statues here, and among them there is something special. It doesn't just make the lake surface majestic. It's also the key to entering the dungeon that countless people have noticed the empty slot on the statue. Some think it's a place to insert a coin, while others say it's a place to put a key. However, no one has yet found a way to open that statue because the key for this mechanism is not a normal key, but rather moonlight. Kang Jin-hyuk skillfully uses his hand to adjust the amount of moonlight entering the empty slot and the angle to make it align perfectly with the sequence. After a few attempts, the final statue was engraved, and the door to the underground opened. Following Kang Jin-hyuk, Alice couldn't help but gasp in surprise. I never expected a place like this to exist. A place like this? She had been in the tower for so long that she finally felt a sense of freedom she had long forgotten. Alice reached out to touch the rushing water, feeling a strange, peaceful calm. Kang Jin-hyuk stood behind her with a mocking smirk. What are you happy you accepted my contract? The girl blushed shyly, admitting, Well, I suppose you're a trustworthy master. Kang Jin-hyuk then descended into the basement, activating the Blessing of the Stars skill to channel holy power, unfreezing the icy path and boosting his magic power. Up to 18, making it much easier to keep Alice in check. Seeing the dazed look on her face, a bold idea popped into his head. He wondered what the beings inside the tower thought about the players, and if Alice even realized that she was just a bunch of game data. Being the curious type, Kang Jin-hyuk asked Alice exactly what was on his mind, but what the hell? Everything he said sounded like a scratched record, scaring the poor girl half to death. It turned out that all information regarding the tower was blocked. Nothing could be revealed to the creatures born within it. As they ventured deeper, Alice suddenly sensed something approaching. Giant hard-shelled beetles crawled out from everywhere, which explained why this place was called a monster spawning ground. Seeing these disgusting creatures, Alice shivered in terror. So much so that she forgot she was a vampire. Kang Jin-hyuk yelled for her to step back, attacking them head-on with Fire Fist and the Blessing of the Stars. He thought it would be a breeze, but no. The monster's physical resistance suddenly shot up by 30%. Even though Alice was scared out of her wits, she was forced to pull herself together and fight to exterminate the bugs. With her blood magic, she turned the entire area into a sea of red. Seizing the opportunity, Kang Jin-hyuk closed the distance, unleashing all the power he had been holding back. He joined the fray, activating Deadly Poison Sword, showing them what a real party was. Come at me, all of you! Kang Jin-hyuk shouted with a devilish grin. At the same time, in the Olympus Guild's conference room, representatives from all the major guilds were gathered to discuss the war. Titan Guild's representative, Patrick, was the first to speak, as you all know. Our 8th raid to the 4th floor failed. Out of 19 squads with 100 members, only 9 returned, and the boss on the 3rd floor isn't even the main issue. We have to figure out how to take down the 100,000 statues it commands. Damn it, it's like the tomb of the first emperor, isn't it? The representative from the Chunghua Guild, Tang Wei, chimed in. Even with the holy artifacts and counterattack skills, we still failed. We couldn't break through their massive, impenetrable defensive line. Then other guild representatives joined the discussion along with the Olympus representative Maria. Teresa was also there. They argued back and forth, blaming each other and almost coming to blows. Just as the situation was about to spiral into chaos, the Titan Guild's Patrick intervened. Yesterday at dawn, we received an offer from the Demonkin. They said they would support us if we agreed to their terms. Hearing the words Demonkin, everyone's hatred flared up. No one wanted to fight alongside globally wanted criminals. While they were in the middle of a heated argument, a voice from the depths of the underworld echoed from afar. What do you mean by trash? You're hurting our feelings. Oh, it was a Demonkin. How on earth did he teleport here? As soon as he saw him, Baek Jin-ho flipped the table in a rage, intending to send him to the afterlife. Tang Wei also joined in pointing his sword forward, ready to strike. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, Baek Jin-ho. The two who were just screaming at each other were now on the same side, ready to send the Demonkin to meet their ancestors. Facing death, the Demonkin didn't tremble at all. He calmly brought up the fact that he could destroy the third-floor boss as a way to lure them into joining him. At first, everyone talked tough, but after seeing his unique skill, Black Moon Necromancy, activated, they flipped faster than a pancake. Tens of thousands of skeletons were summoned, capable of becoming a mighty army, realizing he was a summoner and with the greed summoning made of 99 different materials. The representatives changed their attitudes, completely agreeing on the condition that this wouldn't be made public. They felt it was worth the risk. Maria still disagreed, voicing her opposition. Teresa stood to the side, thinking they had all truly lost their minds. She suddenly thought, if Jin Hyuk were here, we wouldn't be in this situation. Just as she was at a loss, Teresa suddenly received a video call from the outside, and it was none other than Kang Jin Hyuk. Speak of the devil, and he appears. Teresa, like a drowning person, clutching at a lifebuoy, immediately answered. What the hell is going on? Kang Jin Hyuk blurted out, seeing the chaotic scene before him. The Demonkin, too, didn't hold back. He cursed, who the hell are you? Why don't you show your face instead of hiding behind that pathetic screen? You want me to show my face? Fine. Kang Jin Hyuk didn't fear anyone. As soon as they saw the person before them, the representatives froze in shock, stopping all movement. The Nameless One. The man who single-handedly wiped out the first-floor ruins. They looked at each other and thought, that's the super rookie every guild in the world wants to recruit. The person we've been desperately searching for is standing right in front of us. They gritted their teeth, thrilled by his sudden appearance. The Demonkin broke the tense atmosphere with a mocking question, do you know that this boss hunt is completely different from the last one? The guy was bragging again. What the hell could you possibly do with this many soldiers? Everyone gritted their teeth, relieved by his sudden appearance. The demon human spoke up, breaking the tense atmosphere with a mocking question, do you even realize that this boss hunt is completely different from the last one? The guy was bragging again. Is there anything he can't do with this many soldiers at his command? Are you actually admitting it now? Kang Jin Hyuk asked, feigning surprise. Seriously? Then he dropped a line that made the guy want to crawl into a hole and hide. Immediately. You aren't going to get away with this. Just by mentioning that fake staff, he hit the bullseye. The guy jumped in shock, and Kang Jin Hyuk didn't hesitate to reveal his true pathetic colors to the other representatives, exposing him as a complete fraud. Holy staff, he scoffed. Grave robber's oil and holy water. You clearly used these two items. While explaining, Kang Jin Hyuk pointed out the evidence. The staff of greed had a ruby embedded under the skull, and there was no way to create a real staff after only 3 floors. Furthermore, the bunch of weaklings outside couldn't even survive a half-day hunting trip, let alone fight a boss. He firmly asserted that the jerk intended to ditch them after looting the items and coins while they stood there clueless. Caught red-handed and embarrassed, the devil man immediately flipped his script, cursing him as an arrogant bastard, and vowed that Kang Jin Hyuk would regret rejecting his offer and that next time, he'd show him who's boss. He didn't forget to try and look tough, spinning around 360 degrees and saying, bye-bye, adding, I'll be watching you. When that jerk and his army of skeletons vanished, everyone stood there dumbfounded, wondering what to do next. Kang Jin Hyuk, never one to miss an opportunity, stepped in and told them to leave it to him. There was no need to form an alliance with the devil man. He could handle it all on his own. Whoa. That statement left the big shots completely stunned. Regardless, since they were all opportunists, even without knowing if he'd succeed, the first thing they did was start trying to recruit the guy everyone wanted on their team. However, Kang Jin-hyuk's answer was a hard no. No need to pay me anything. Just seal off the boss hunting area so no one else can get in. I'm enough. That sounded totally ridiculous, and Teresa, unable to contain her curiosity, asked why. The more he explained, the more suspicious it seemed. Kang Jin-hyuk scratched his head, acting bashful, and said something so cringy it was hard to listen to. I'm just doing what needs to be done. Everything is for the people I consider my most precious teammates. He tried his best not to laugh like a dog, while Teresa looked completely embarrassed. As for Baek Jin-ho, it hit a nerve, and he started laughing loudly. That's amazing. This is true comradeship. The young man, speaking as the representative of the guild, he couldn't say anything more. You remind me of myself. How cheesy can you get? Fortunately, the atmosphere seemed to have settled down. Kang Jin-hyuk said his goodbyes, ready for his one-of-a-kind hunt. But little did they know behind the masked super rookie was a girl, being exploited like a slave, handling monsters all by herself in the distance. As expected, Alice started screaming, demanding fairness because he left all the work to her, like a housemaid. Fortunately, Kang Jin-hyuk still had a shred of humanity and planned to buy her some mana supplements to recover, only he didn't expect that. His own blood was the best mana source. Once Alice had her fill and was satisfied, she stopped complaining. She obediently followed Kang Jin-hyuk and jumped into the bottomless pit right in front of them. Even though Alice tried to stop him since she didn't know how deep it was, Kang Jin-hyuk was incredibly confident because he had been here hundreds of times and knew exactly how deep it went. He landed safely at the bottom and used fire magic to light up the area. Alice looked at the surrounding monsters and asked quietly, "Are we in the wrong place?" "Wrong? What do you mean wrong?" Kang Jin-hyuk replied coolly, "We're in the right place." Then he looked ahead, facing the giant thing sitting right in front of them. "Bugs this size aren't enough to kill me. Why don't you show yourself, you stray dog wandering the desert Anubis?" The giant statue in front, which was perfectly fine, felt insulted and immediately retaliated. Kang Jin-hyuk was prepared and kept dodging to lure him in. Seeing the dog go crazy, Alice stood in front to shield him. "This is dangerous. I'll hold him off. You get out of here." He never expected she'd be worried about him. Kang Jin-hyuk suddenly smirked, then pushed her back. Alice told him not to act tough, or he'd die young. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't pay it any mind and kept rambling on, preparing to put on a world-class performance to show her who he really was. Anubis, watching this unfold, went straight into a rage. He immediately activated his skill, Judgment of Anubis, and asked, "Answer me. Did that vampire woman reveal me to you?" The first question had appeared. Kang Jin-hyuk gave the jerk a blank stare. He knew full well that this skill would be activated whenever he faced Anubis. The judgment technique activates once 3 questions are answered, and the condition for copying it is to make this dog lose his patience, to destroy the jar containing his consciousness. Kang Jin-hyuk figured that if he successfully pissed him off, he'd get the power to answer the most powerful question in the world. So he answered freely. Whether the answers were right or wrong didn't matter. Kang Jin-hyuk was very cooperative, answering all 3 questions until the conditions to trigger the technique were met. He was immediately incapacitated for 1 minute, with all stats reduced by 50%. "Now I need a representative to judge in my stead," Anubis declared. After picking and choosing among that bunch of bugs, he selected a giant black mantis that looked like a lump of coal, introducing it as the warrior to judge in his place, and even asked a question that made your skin crawl. "What do you think of this mighty warrior of mine?" Alice looked at the mantis and couldn't help but say, "Good Lord, that's ugly as hell." Kang Jin-hyuk pulled out a mini music player that had the function of playing a signature track that couldn't be destroyed until the song ended to respond. Anubis thought this guy had been scared stupid by his terrifying warrior taking out music at a time like this. Kang Jin-hyuk closed his eyes, parrying the mantis's attacks. While answering the dog's question, "It's nothing serious, I'm just enjoying the music, you idiot." That was a critical hit, directly poking the boss's rage. The reason Kang Jin-hyuk brought the music here was because he had researched it hundreds of times, testing it until he found the rhythm that perfectly mirrored The giant mantis's attacks, and all he had to do was flow with the rhythm to counterattack like a conductor. Anubis also realized that the opponent dodging attacks according to the rhythm perfectly could not be a coincidence. 1 minute passed, and Kang Jin-hyuk, sweating buckets, was now completely free from the seal and could use his skills and signature moves. Kang Jin-hyuk immediately activated the Grave Phantom Sword, hacking away at the mantis, even though it was being shredded the insect. Seriously, that monster is terrifying, and the ability to regenerate its wounds. That's badass. But its opponent is no pushover either. Kang Jin-hyuk just keeps relentlessly hacking and slashing. He's giving the creature no time to rest. It regenerates, dies, and regenerates again. Watching this whole scene is just exhausting. Alice's face shifts instantly. You'd think she'd feel pity for the mantis, but nope. The girl suddenly flashes a wicked smile, thinking to herself, I never expected this guy to be this strong. And if he's that strong, maybe he can help me get revenge on my enemies. Kang Jin-hyuk takes a brief breather, and seeing this, Anubis quickly urges his warrior to attack. But the god has no clue. A warrior chosen by a deity usually has immense pride. For a fighter who constantly assumes they'll win a technique that completely crushes their will is the ultimate insult and provocation. Kang Jin-hyuk, with a cocky grin, walks over and sits right on the mantis's head in a relaxed manner. The insulted insect. It reaches its breaking point. It jumps up, says something, makes a throat-slitting gesture, and ends up committing suicide right in front of Anubis in the most ridiculous way. Anubis looks absolutely sour now. He has no clue what the hell just happened. The mantis kicks the bucket, leaving behind a magic grimoire for Kang Jin-hyuk containing ice magic. Thanks to that, he gains the Ice Bind skill. Truly the perks of exclusivity, no wonder. Our major guilds fight over all the prime tower floors. What an unexpected bonus. Anubis, furious and grimacing, admits the human is no ordinary pest, but if you're using toys like that to fight, that's just pathetic. And you don't even dare to fight me head-on, so what are you rambling about? It's not like you've accomplished anything sitting on the 42nd floor. Upon hearing Kang Jin-hyuk's retort, Anubis starts questioning his own existence and asks out of curiosity, knowing only his consciousness exists here. If that's the case, why bother coming here to challenge me? Kang Jin-hyuk laughs like he's having a blast. A reason? Do I need one? I'm just having fun. This response makes Anubis lose his mind. Fun. You say it's for fun. How dare a human like you? How dare a... Use me for your amusement, you insolent brat! The roar barely fades before Imperial Hornet Swarm is activated. It's an ancient species of bee that can summon countless giant insects. Anubis has lost all control, his mind clouded by rage. He screams at his soldiers, kill that insolent human right now! Kang Jin-hyuk isn't even slightly worried. He combines fire elements with the Ice Bind version, fusing them to create Sunlight Shatter to counterattack. It's a AA rank skill that compresses mana, then explodes like a tornado. A single sweep and everything in its path turns to dust. Anubis is frustrated beyond belief and changes plans, activating selected object on the hornets in front, turning them into immortal creatures that multiply endlessly. That's it, it's going exactly according to plan. He'd prepared for this beforehand. Kang Jin-hyuk pulls out a giantization pill, which increases the size of an object tenfold, and feeds it to those bees. It's a good thing he fed it to the bees. If he'd fed it to a person, oh boy, that would be a disaster. And he's not done yet. He hops onto the head of one, luring them to gather in one spot. Next, Kang Jin-hyuk creates an undefined cube from the items he bought earlier, traps them inside, and tosses fire elements in. It explodes into a miniature prison, forcing them to slaughter each other. Now Kang Jin-hyuk just sits back and reaps the rewards. Gaming is easy, the more monsters, easy, that spawn, the more EXP he gains. They are the most efficient copy machines. Anubis is completely losing it now. He never expected the guy in front of him would be so terrifyingly prepared for every little detail. He's livid and decides to wipe out the swarm. He can't let this freeloader steal all the experience points. Anubis jumps, like he's been bitten by an ant. He keeps screaming, cursing, and threatening, "You'd better save your pathetic life and climb to the top of the leaderboard. When that happens, I'll punish you, you insolent brat." After he finishes ranting, the desert dog completely vanishes and Anubis's vessel is destroyed. Kang Jin-hyuk successfully hacks the skill The Judge's Verdict, a skill that is frankly top tier. The only catch is that if you use it twice on the same target, you face the wrath of the ancient Egyptian gods. Just then, he also receives A notification that the ancient gods have started paying attention to him. Some are even showing hostility. Kang Jin-hyuk sighs and mutters, cursing the gods. In this place for being so narrow-minded. Alice, who's been standing in the corner, is still dizzy because she has no clue what the hell just happened. She just sat down to rest for a second before Kang Jin-hyuk kicked her out because he had a video call. Talk about being heartless. The person on the other end is Chun Yu-sung with a murderous look on his face, greeting him with an interrogation. Kang Jin-hyuk, what hole are you hiding in that I don't know about? He says that within 24 hours the Awakening Association will organize a tournament for all players AA rank and above, after saying that Chun Yu-sung requests the other to participate in this tournament, and then have another fight with him. What a fanboy chasing him all the way here just to ask for a duel. He's so busy he's about to pop, so Kang Jin-hyuk naturally refuses right away. Time is money after all. No, you can't refuse, Chun Yu-sung says firmly, then pulls out a black market ticket he just swiped as a bargaining chip. Hearing about a black market ticket, Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes light up like floodlights. According to Chun Yu-sung, unlike item shops where players use coins to trade, the black market is a secret auction for members who have received invitations to bid on items with cash. Just when he needs tons of items to devour the third-floor boss, he might find some great stuff here. However, even with the ticket, Kang Jin-hyuk still isn't sold. But Chun Yu-sung pushes harder, talking about the winner's prize, 2 choices. First, choose a replica of an artifact from the National Museum of South Korea. Second, continue to challenge a player who didn't participate in the tournament with the right to pick the opponent. After hearing this guy talk, Kang Jin-hyuk loses it. Something feels wrong. He shouts right in Chun Yu-sung's face, "This time in front of everyone, I'm going to tear you to shreds." He might be cursing, but in the end, he still has to get moving. While waiting at the tournament, watching those guys down there dancing with boredom, Kang Jin-hyuk uploads his own video to a newly created channel. It goes viral instantly, and he makes a ton of money from it, because the video features the unknown guy Teresa and top-tier players from major guilds. Since the footage of the demon appearing was cut out, no one is criticizing them. Picking a fight with the guild leaders wouldn't do any good, would it? Countless comments appear praising him like crazy. His personality is awesome. He's so damn cool, and so on. Soloing the boss is just incredible. The netizens' reactions are exactly as predicted. The masked player in the story makes everyone curious, standing tall in front of the guild leaders, declaring that he will solo the boss. Naturally, the atmosphere is hotter than ever. Roughly calculating based on views, 50 million is a huge number. Every 10,000 views equals 100 coins, so 50 million is 500 coins. Then subtract 90% in fees, a fee more cutthroat than high-interest loans. Even so, Kang Jin-hyuk can still pocket about 50,000 coins, which is more than enough for him to splurge. He's already thinking about buying a castle and becoming a wealthy tycoon. But those guys down there are still fighting so boringly. Kang Jin-hyuk yawns repeatedly, bored, waiting for the end of this damn tournament. These are all players of rank H and above participating, and the Awakened Association opens the floor with an unedited live stream so all the citizens can see just how strong and reliable these players really are. In other words, it's a way to soothe the tension, which is as tight as a guitar string, and boost the association's reputation. After several failed attempts to conquer the third-floor boss after a long and time-consuming battle, the winner finally emerges. Of course, it's none other than Chun Yu-sung. With confidence to spare, not even waiting for the MC to finish stating the winner's perks, Chun Yu-sung interrupts and chooses his next opponent. Everyone assumes it will be one of those big-shot guild masters. But to everyone's surprise, he stands in the middle of the arena and points straight toward the stands, causing panic among the audience. Coincidentally, the sword tip points toward the representative of the Black Cloud Guild, Hong Dae-opyo, and the A-ranker Jung Do-hyun. Jung Do-hyun thinks he's the one being called out and prepares to charge in, feeling embarrassed when he realizes his mistake. Luckily, Hong Dae-opyo stops him in time. Chun Yu-sung remains standing still. Kang Jin-hyuk has no choice but to show up, but his appearance makes the entire crowd explode into a frenzy. Everyone quickly searches for his information, but oh well. All they see is a regular F-rank player. As soon as he jumps down into the arena, Kang Jin-hyuk looks incredibly tired. He begged me earnestly, so if you lose this time, then stop making such a fuss, okay? People should learn how to give up. We've barely just met, and this guy is already mocking me every chance he gets. Just the word diligent is enough to make Chun Yu-sung completely snap. Diligent, I haven't stopped for even a single second to catch up to you. If you want that ticket, then give it everything you've got. After saying that he's impatient and starts the fight immediately, ignoring his bored opponent. Sigh. Here we go again. Anyway, since it's come to this, Kang Jin-hyuk decides to teach this stalker a lesson. And then, after a round of boom crash, bang, the entire arena and the roof are gone. It becomes a scene of ruins and wreckage. A tattered Chunju Sun tries to squeeze out a final question: how many skills do you actually possess? Then he collapses onto the ground. Kang Jin-hyuk rushes over not to help the guy up, but to swipe the black card. He smiles wickedly, promising to make good use of it. Everyone in the stands is looking at him with awe and fear, whispering and gossiping non-stop. Kang Jin-hyuk spots some acquaintances and acts as if he's greeting them, the old man and the girl from the museum earlier. They see him and are quite terrified, but they still have to pretend to be polite. He even threatens the schoolgirl into giving him her phone number under duress, making the poor girl terrified. But she still hands it over voluntarily. He thought that was the end of it, and he could leave quickly, but no trouble is just arriving. The arrogant guy, Jung Do-hyun of the Black Cloud, suddenly jumps down with a thud and puts on a friendly face, wanting to shake hands and get to know him, hoping for future favors. Kang Jin-hyuk immediately activates his Eye of Truth to check him out. This guy has a unique skill called Violent Giant. To copy it, he needs to grasp the guy's hidden intent. What's the intent he has to rack his brain to figure it out? But more importantly, how the heck does the system always manage to judge what the opponent's intent is? It's even more advanced than a standard program. Facing Jung Do-hyun's handshake and his fake desire to be friends, Kang Jin-hyuk immediately sees the truth behind that hypocritical face. It's filled with insecurity and resentment. The reporters, they swarm in as if they've been waiting for this moment. His hand is extended, his face full of anticipation, the representative of the Black Cloud Guild in front of the press. They want to show everyone how their super rookie subdues the winner and draws all the attention to them. Their intention is as clear as day, and Kang Jin-hyuk has seen right through it. And he successfully hacks Hand of the Giant into his collection. It's a skill that allows the player to use immense power. The hand's strength skyrockets, and the user can comfortably use items 10 times their size. Back when it was still just a regular game, there weren't many players, so opportunities to copy skills were very limited. But times have changed. Now that the game has become reality, abilities that others have to struggle so hard to obtain are just waiting patiently for him to come and take them. A hack move no one could ever imagine. Once he's obtained the guy's ultimate technique, Kang Jin-hyuk begins to counterattack, berating the guy mercilessly and showing no respect at all. Once finished, he knocks him out with the same move. Jung Do-hyun thought he was better, but no, he's suddenly controlled by Anubis's judgment. And then a snap of the arm, a bone-chilling pain, and it ends with Jin-hyuk's devilish smile along with a fatal punch right into his gut. He just glances at him once and acts superior. Love acting like a colleague, huh? Since when are we even close enough to act all friendly? The result is Jung Do-hyun lying flat on the ground, foaming at the mouth, unable to even twitch. Seeing his pet, that he had worked so hard to train, being kicked to the curb, Hong Dae-opyo flies into a rage and rushes over, preparing to fight. But before striking, he has to say a few words to sound like something out of a martial arts movie. Do you have any idea how much effort I put into getting him to where he is today, and yet you dare to treat Roan like a piece of trash? Ignoring the guy's rambling, the only thing Jin-hyuk cares about is the condition to copy the exclusive skill he needs to shatter Hong Dae-opyo's pride. To get Blood Demon Chi, he needs a clear plan because this guy isn't a pushover. Jin-hyuk speaks up, advising Hong Dae-opyo to show some restraint. Just a moment, stop fighting and let's clear this up. Wait, who is this guy? No way he didn't even listen. He went totally berserk. Instead of calmly responding to the question about being scared, he bragged, saying that he hadn't even thought about sending the guild leader packing with his lackeys yet. What could be more humiliating than that? You pathetic piece of trash, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? Hong Dae-opyo screamed as he lunged forward, coming at him with his Blood Demon Spirit skill maxed out. Facing it, Kang Jin-hyuk didn't hold back either. He activated Sunlight Break Level 2 and buffed it with 99 points, closing the gap in 3. 0.3 seconds, easily blocking his attack. Hong Daepyo was beyond pissed. As the dignified commander of the vanguard who finished off the great god soldier boss on the second floor of the trial tower, he couldn't believe that he was being countered by an F-ranker. Just as he was about to unleash his next move, his opponent suddenly stopped. Jin Hyuk activated reconciliation and whispered some sweet talk-making. The guy feels satisfied. In a tournament where all the people are watching, shouldn't you show them a more reliable side of yourself? It's unclear if Hong Daepyo even heard him, but it just so happened that the commander-in-chief Han Sang-jin of the Awakened Guild appeared. Seeing someone there, Hong Daepyo immediately started snitching, but Hong Daepyo wasn't a child who just listened to anyone. Han Sang-jin cut in, telling him to calm down. This isn't a performance. Injuries in a match like this are inevitable. After saying that, he completely ignored Hong Daepyo and turned to greet Kang Jin-hyuk warmly. Even more surprisingly, he bowed respectfully, leaving everyone present absolutely stunned out of their minds. The truth was, before coming here, he had rechecked Jin-hyuk's test results and realized he had pressured the investigation bureau, which caused the error in his rank. Jin-hyuk, congratulations on being officially recognized as the 16th S-rank player in South Korea. Han Sang-jin bowed 90 degrees, expressing sincere apologies for the association's error that had caused him to receive an undeserved rank. This news instantly blew up the stands. A new S-ranker suddenly appearing made media outlets scramble to report it. Hong Daepyo, standing nearby, dripping with sweat, cursed under his breath. What the hell is going on? This tournament was supposed to be the Black Cloud Guild's stage, so why was it all falling apart? He was determined to salvage this situation at any cost. So Hong Daepyo grabbed a passing reporter, rambling on about how he would reveal the Black Cloud Guild's strategy for the third-floor boss to them. But talk about an epic fail, the reporter didn't even pay him any mind and rushed past him toward Kang Jin-hyuk, adding, "If you have time later, let's keep in touch." Hong Daepyo completely collapsed, forced to turn around and leave. His pride had been utterly trampled. Kang Jin-hyuk didn't even have to do anything to collect the guy's unique skill, Blood Demon Spirit. News of the 16th S-rank player immediately flooded the headlines, and the public's reaction was exactly what Kang Jin-hyuk had predicted. Furthermore, he was even set up with a first-class flight to Las Vegas. Everyone wants to reach the top rank because the treatment is completely different. Kang Jin-hyuk sat in his plush seat, enjoying the leisurely feeling, exclaiming about how good it was. He was even being served snacks like a king, something he hadn't experienced in 11 years. Just as he was sipping away in bliss, Alice suddenly grumbled, complaining about the person standing in front of her. She muttered that the person had a strange smell. His blood gave off a scent that was very annoying and stifling. She said she would absolutely never drink blood that stank like that. While he was enjoying himself, he was interrupted. Kang Jin-hyuk scolded her. "Don't judge people by their appearance like that." Alice snapped back angrily. "I'm not joking, that man is not a decent person." Seeing that she seemed serious, he paid closer attention and used his eye of truth to check. Oh boy, he shouldn't have looked. But once he did, he smelled it too. This handsome guy was actually a necromancer belonging to the Demon Guild. If he wanted to copy that guy's skill, he would need to gain enough intimacy, and the condition was to join the Demon Guild. Looking at that guy's face and his incredibly natural acting, it was unbelievable. Speaking of the devil, the blonde guy suddenly let out an "oh" and turned around as if he were surprised. "Are you Kang Jin-hyuk, the S-rank player recently?" Recognized in South Korea, Kang Jin-hyuk knew this wasn't a coincidence. This bastard took the same flight because he was targeting him. Since he was recognized as an S-ranker, it wasn't just the main guilds paying attention. Knowing this, he still decided to play along to see what this guy was up to. The blonde guy took out a business card, introduced himself as Alexandro, and invited him to have a drink to kill some time. And then with a bottle of high-end cognac he brought out, the guy spilled his whole life story, from how his business was going to what obstacles he overcame when the trial tower appeared. Mid-sentence, he steered the conversation, revealing he came to South Korea to develop the Awakened sector because of a guy in a mask named Nameless, and that he planned to participate in the raid on the third-floor boss, making everything sound like a mess. Kang Jin-hyuk sipped his drink while listening to the guy make up stories, feeling cringed out. Pretending to be friends with the masked man without knowing the real guy was sitting right in front of him. After a while, his goal was revealed. Alexandro invited him to join them in raiding the third-floor boss. Since S-rank players have the right to operate independently, no one would be allowed to touch him or his group. Kang Jin-hyuk remained silent. In this situation, since Nameless had already declared he would raid it alone, the main guilds would definitely find a way to strictly control access to the third-floor boss room. After thinking for a moment, he decided to turn down the offer. Alexandro didn't give up. He pulled out a bottle of medicine with a scheming look, introducing it as elixir, a type of drug that could cure even terminal illnesses and even a broken heart. Kang Jin-hyuk held it, looking blankly like a confused fool, his greed starting to grow. Alexandro continued to bait him, treating the bottle as a deposit. He just needed him to sign this contract. With his eyes, Kang Jin-hyuk immediately recognized it as a demon pact. On the surface, it looked like a normal contract, but once the pact was violated, the hidden deadly curse inside would trigger. And, of course, the solution was simple: just don't sign it and there's nothing to worry about. Kang Jin-hyuk refused to sign the contract using the excuse that he didn't want to provoke the major guilds. Obviously, the solution is simple. As long as you don't sign, there's nothing to worry about. Kang Jin-hyuk refused to sign the contract, citing his desire to avoid provoking the major guilds. Alexandro stopped pushing, reaching out to take back the potion, but Kang Jin-hyuk didn't budge. "Anything in my hands belongs to me, so don't even think about getting it back," he countered. Smirking back at his rival, he continued, "Even though you're a cautious person, I'm quite ambitious. Whatever I set my sights on, I'm taking it with me, Alexandro." Having been robbed blind, Alexandro could do nothing but lash out, threatening that Anonymous would pay for this. Well, talk about walking right into it. Just mentioning it was ridiculous. Kang Jin-hyuk flat out exposed the guy's lies. The pathetic bunch at the Olympus conference actually thought Anonymous was on their side. Why would he be? He even teased him, saying if he played nice, he might leak a few details about that Anonymous guy. Alexandro was fuming, his head ready to explode, but he had to swallow his pride and bite the bullet. Kang Jin-hyuk landed in Las Vegas smoothly without losing a single hair. Seeing the lavish city ahead, Alice couldn't help but gasp. "Not bad at all, huh?" Walking beside her, Kang Jin-hyuk kept reminding her to keep it quiet and stay out of trouble, or he'd stuff her right back into that pitch-black ring. This was technically her reward for spotting the demon on the plane. To prepare for his upcoming plan, he quickly recalled memories of, the fusion world. Using the Eye of Truth and blood magic, he created the Gluttonous Eye skill, which allowed him to see others' status windows and read their thoughts. Alice thought she was going into a massive fancy casino, but instead they arrived at a tiny rundown gambling den in the middle of nowhere. The only catch was that magic was allowed there. Anyway, before stepping inside, they witnessed customers getting bled dry by scammers using skills. Even though the victims reported it to the floor manager, they only got a beating followed by a cold, blunt judgment. "You used your skill too, so stop whining. Anyone stupid enough to get scammed here deserves it." Kang Jin-hyuk, overhearing this, had to admit the guy wasn't wrong. Alice, who had been sulking about how boring the place was a second ago now, had eyes sparkling like stars, realizing it was actually quite interesting. Kang Jin-hyuk carried her to the drink counter, told the server to make her whatever she wanted, and then headed off alone to earn some cash. Kang Jin-hyuk started with a game of cards. He immediately used the skill he hacked from Anubis to seal his opponent's abilities, then went all in with $5 million, netting a huge payout. But the moment these customers lost that much, they started shrieking, accusing him of cheating, and called security to drag him away for an investigation. Yeah, in their dreams, Kang Jin-hyuk stood right up and repeated the line he'd heard earlier, "Anyone stupid enough to get scammed here deserves it." As he spoke, he gave them a taste of his own brand of basic training. Alice, nearby, didn't care one bit, calmly enjoying her drink. The managers of the den were currently sweating bullets because the head of their organization still hadn't arrived. The guy was on pins and needles, shifting uncomfortably, glancing at the battlefield in front of him, and thinking something felt wrong, even if this area was illegal. What kind of lunatic would actually act like this? He was already on edge, but the guy beside him kept yelling, "Manager, manager!" which really ticked him off. But as soon as he read the data on the man in front of him that he was Kang Jin-hyuk, the player recently judged as S-rank, his attitude flipped instantly. Even in the US, there were fewer than 30 S-ranks. If the guy in front of him went on a rampage, this dump of his would be wiped off the map. Thinking this, he ordered his lackeys to stop and fearfully knelt to apologize. Having just gotten into the groove of the fight, Kang Jin-hyuk wasn't done scratching his itch. He frowned and retorted, "Why are you suddenly apologizing? Realized you messed with someone way above your pay grade, huh?" Then he started calculating how much he was owed. Beyond the money he won fairly, there was compensation for emotional distress from the attempted violence and an all in all $10 million. The guy heard, $10 million, and nearly fainted, but to keep the casino safe, he had to grit his teeth and hand it over. Kang Jin-hyuk smirked. This was just enough to participate in the item auction he wanted, and the timing was perfect too. A while later, a car from the organizers picked him up. From inside, you couldn't see. Outside at all. It seemed the auction's location was top secret. Just that alone made it worth the wait. As soon as they reached the gate, Alice started nagging to get out. Once she was released, she was thrilled. There were many prying eyes here, so Kang Jin-hyuk didn't forget to warn her not to cause trouble. Inside, it looked incredibly formal, and the talk about the items had everyone stunned. There was a rumor that a dragonfish heart would appear at this auction, all due to the birth of the trial tower. Because of the mana frequencies or something, treasures that had vanished since ancient times were reappearing. While she was excited and enjoying it, Alice, and suddenly covered her mouth and gagged, looking disgusted. Oh, so right in front of them were that damn demon Alexandro and his teacher Julius Cedric. They seemed to have come because they were played by Kang Jin-hyuk before. Just looking at the blonde guy, you could tell he'd been beaten to a pulp for failing his mission and getting the elixir stolen. Kang Jin-hyuk immediately activated his gluttonous eye to check Julius Cedric, 58 years old. Level 30. Necromancer. Unique skill, Protector of the Labala Pyramid. As expected, this old geezer had outstanding abilities. He even had a unique power that allowed him to create synergy with other necromancers. With just a tiny bit of mana, he could summon a ton of spirit beasts. Truly an ability everyone would kill for. But wait, get this. The requirement to copy his skill was to complete advanced dark magic studies from Cedric with an A+ grade. What a completely insane condition. Whatever he'd deal with that later. This system must be losing its mind. First, Kang Jin-hyuk had to poke at the old man's pain point. He smiled, gently approached, and affectionately opened his stinking mouth, starting the trolling. "Thanks to your disciple, I managed to get and something very precious, and had a very pleasant flight, too." Julius Cedric didn't seem to care. He went straight to the point, wanting to know a few things about Anonymous. But Kang Jin-hyuk loved nothing more than making things difficult for others, so he just turned and walked away, ignoring the old man's threats. He wasn't afraid of that fake skull at all. "Let's meet another time." Alice, seeing this, was fired up and demanded to personally take out those smelly guys for Kang Jin-hyuk. He didn't want to invite trouble to a place he had struggled so hard to reach, so he had to cut her off quickly. A moment later, under everyone's anticipation, the 175th black market auction began. The items. First up is the meteorite fragment that fell in Arizona, USA, with a starting price of $100,000. Currently, no expert could handle it. No one can process it. In other words, no one currently knows how to use that thing. Kang Jin-hyuk thought to himself that this was the perfect chance to buy it at a bargain price. Thinking it was a done deal, he immediately bid $300,000 with a triumphant smirk, thinking he'd snatch the meteorite for pennies, but he was slapped in the face with a $1 million bid from the old man Julius Cedric, and it wasn't just the meteorite. Look down and see any item in that he wanted to buy was snatched up by that old man. Kang Jin-hyuk planned to bait him into buying a bunch of stuff to drain his treasury, but he didn't account for the fact that the old man was wealthier than him. The next items were meant for real big spenders. When the primordial chessboard came up, Alessandro saw his master still wanted to go all in, so he tried to stop him, only to get yelled at. "You idiot. If that guy can easily get what he wants, what are you gonna do, huh?" Even though the old man lost a bit of money, his finances were still overflowing, so he was determined to buy it to get information on Nameless. Kang Jin-hyuk seemed very interested in this item. He kept bidding, acting so desperate that he drove the price up to $8 million. Looking at the sky-high price, he had to grit his teeth, his face darkening as he bid $10 million, but that old geezer still had no intention of stopping. The guy excitedly shouted a bid of $30 million, making the whole arena roar. Your funds only go up to 10 million, right? Gotcha now. This is the thing you really want, right? If you want it, come here and crawl at my feet. He shouted at Kang Jin-hyuk in delight, seeing the item he needed getting taken away. He was utterly devastated, hanging his head and racking his brain for a countermeasure. But at the final second before announcing the buyer unexpectedly, Alice stood up and bid 100 million. The old man was so shocked his jaw could have fit a whole cow. He kept pressing, but he was sure to lose this round. Alice locked in an extreme, a price of 200 million, making even the host demand proof of funds. Proof of funds. She didn't have that, but her vault was full of gold and silver. Alice dumped a pile of gold and jewels on them just looking at it. Was enough to blind anyone. Even the crown that fell out alone was worth 500 million. Truly, the aristocracy. Julius Cedric realized then that this girl was the real formidable opponent, and even more so, she was being managed as a subordinate by Kang Jin-hyuk. Maybe an enemy even more annoying than Nameless has appeared. The tides turned. They couldn't win, so they played dirty, deploying Plan B, a suicide bombing, no, an ambush on the whole building, throwing everything into chaos, turning everyone here into expendable pawns to be used as fuel to cultivate their magic. The cries and pleas for help, it felt like my head was about to burst. "Save me," echoed everywhere. Standing before these two crazy teacher and student, Kang Jin-hyuk couldn't take it anymore. He had to step in. "You've crossed the line, you disgusting piece of trash," he said furiously. The necromancer, having held back for so long, finally had a chance to vent. He summoned several zombies from the other dimension. Seeing his opponent still putting up a fight, the guy brought up the day he was humiliated like a dog on the plane. "The order to eliminate you has been decided, so there's no reason for me to hold back anymore," saying that the guy unleashed his ultimate move to attack. Honestly, this guy is such a chatterbox. If you're gonna fight, just fight. Why the long talk? He even asked about Alice's whereabouts. When asked, Kang Jin-hyuk had to answer, mocking him by saying she hated disgusting things, so she'd already run off. Truth be told, she had to release her material form because it was hard for him to maintain mana in the current situation. The purgatory flames kept attacking. Dragging the fight out like this wasn't the way, so he needed to end it as fast as possible. But saying is easier than doing. Even though he used the mirror image, the opponent was still as persistent as a leech and stronger than before. After half a day of observation, Kang Jin-hyuk realized the guy was trying to use this method to stall for time. As long as he absorbed more life force, he would keep summoning more monsters and exhaust his opponent, draining their mana. This is considered a standard tactic in the battles of necromancers. However, Kang Jin-hyuk wouldn't let him have his way. He used the skill Balance of Anubis to control the attacks, combined with Solar Flare to burn all the corpses to ash, even though Alessandro had studied his enemy's skills very carefully through the martial arts tournament. He never expected there were still many things he didn't know. The guy intended to have the zombies scatter and attack before the light beams could fully converge, but unfortunately for him, those zombies couldn't even twitch an inch before being wiped out by Kang Jin-hyuk's ultimate technique. Alessandro lay sprawled on the ground after a massive explosion. He screamed in shock, "No! That's impossible, my darlings." After seeing the scene in front of him, Kang Jin-hyuk calmly flicked his finger. "Look at what your darlings have become." Alessandro realized he had lost and intended to use a smoke bomb to escape, but he received a slash in the back. "Caused a ruckus, and now you're trying to bail. I'll show you how I finish you off. In the next half hour, your lungs will slowly fill with blood, and while they're drowning in that blood, you'll suffocate and croak. I've heard that the most painful death, second only to being burned alive, is suffocation." Kang Jin-hyuk, with a murderous aura, approached, pulling out a knife while speaking. He added a bonus saying he could spare his life if he told him the info about the demon race. Seeing the miracle drug in his opponent's hand, Alessandro thought he'd really be saved. He scrambled up, trying to speak but couldn't get a word out. Just as he was about to write it down, Kang Jin-hyuk stopped him. Now he understood. This guy didn't want him to live. Kang Jin-hyuk pretended the guy was paralyzed. "If you don't want to talk, then I guess I can't help you. I don't need this anymore. You can keep it. And please do me a favor, try to die slowly and painfully." "Okay, you jerk," leaving the disgusting necromancer behind. His attention was caught by the pile of items scattered all over the floor. Thinking he could create a fairly large storage bag from these materials, Kang Jin-hyuk looked around to see if anyone was watching then. Shady. He was combining them into a massive space doing something shady when someone called out from behind, startling him into spilling the truth. No, I didn't intend to take those items for free. The owner only saw him say that, and immediately waved it off, signaling it wasn't necessary. He thanked Kang Jin-hyuk for saving him and his son from death as if it were nothing. For the first time, he saw a scene worth admiring. This grave showed quite a bit of emotion, but since the person said they didn't need money, he didn't bother wasting his time and just left without another word, as if losing a gold bar if he were a second late. On the third floor of the trial tower, the Church of Hatred was an ancient stone building built in Western architectural style. The church lay deep in the forest, surrounded by gloom and mist swirling everywhere. Inside, scattered with many fragments, a figure was hiding behind a wooden door riddled with arrows. The person's eyes were red and looked very angry. Suddenly, the person threw the door aside and shouted in frustration, "Damn it! Why are the traps here so complicated to set up?" Melina went first, slightly hunched over. Putting her left hand to her forehead, she thought, "Do we really have to go this deep every time?" Li Chao followed, replying, "Stop whining, Melina. Because of that stupid guy Alex, my mood hasn't been good." She turned around, glared at him in dissatisfaction, and said, "Not in a good mood." Suddenly, she held her knife close to his neck, her eyes changing color, and she gritted her teeth, saying, "So I have to watch your mood, too." Li Chao was slightly annoyed. "Let me tell you, if you don't want to die, you'd better do so." A voice came from behind. The two stopped. Enough. That made both of them stop arguing and turn to see who it was. On that person's cloak appeared an inverted cross emblem with some writing over it. He wore a white mask with a long, curved nose and red eyes that made him look even more terrifying. He wondered, "Aren't you two partners who have been through life and death together for over 10 years? He stared at the two, then continued, "Can't you two meet without trying to pick a fight? Don't you enjoy your meals otherwise?" That remark made them both uncomfortable, frowning as they turned in two different directions. In the church hall, Melina and Li Chao each sat in two different rows of seats, focusing on listening to Lancelot. "The reason I summoned you both here is because of the appearance of a character. A special one named Kang Jin-hyuk." Melina rested her arms on the chair, smugly saying, "It seems that guy Kang Jin-hyuk has also played this game before. Even so, his skill level probably only equals those amateur rankers, right?" Lancelot placed his hands behind his back and said in a cold tone, "Don't be subjective. Perhaps he has conquered even higher floors than us for all we know." She contemptuously smiled, sneering, "The leadership group conquering the 20th floor of the tower is already crazy enough. How could he possibly do it?" Lisa showed her agreement with Melina's opinion. "I also think that hypothesis is a bit too much." She crossed her arms, glancing at him. He calmly presented his argument. "To avoid the surveillance of the international police, we chose the Trial Tower, a less popular virtual reality game. Even so, we know quite a lot about this tower." She quickly replied, "That's right, what other special reason would those other guys have?" She relaxed, looked up at the sky, and sighed. "Even if one is free." "And finds trouble if you're not a psychopathic freak." Melina looked at the ceiling board and said, "There's no one who would bother sticking to a game as brutal. Like this without a reason, right?" Lancelot stood still, annoyed, thinking, neither of them is even willing to listen seriously, but it's true that they understand each other quite well. You can't look down on this guy Kang Jin-hyuk. He clasped his hands and began to perform magic. Around him was black smoke. He determinedly thought, "I must eliminate every possible threat." He coldly commanded, "You two go follow Cedric." As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared into the black mist with the words, "Help him don't fail in this matter." Melina and Li Chao stood up, walked to the door, and confidently replied, "This old man is really worrying too much." At the luxurious house, a girl with long black hair was taking a stance, preparing to attack Lee Taemin, who was wearing a red helmet. He was nervous, holding the sword, worriedly watching. Suddenly, Jo Seon-ha leaped and threw a powerful kick that made him unable to block it. He gritted his teeth, raised his hand to block the kick, couldn't endure it, and fell to the right. His protective gear flew everywhere. She worriedly asked, "Are you okay?" He shakily raised his thumb to signal he was fine. Hearing footsteps, he waved her over, saying, "My, come look at this." Iu Zeonhua was drying her hair and walked over, confused. Lee Taemin didn't believe it, pointed at the tablet screen and said, "I've been noticing for a while now. This guy is not normal at all." On the tablet screen appeared the title, "Conquering the Third Floor Boss of the Tower." Trial today's video will announce for the first time how to conquer the boss. Just sitting down on the sofa, she grabbed the remote to turn on the TV, sarcastically saying, "Probably just doing tricks for fame like the others." "Right, isn't it?" He put the keyboard in his bag while looking at her, agreeing, "That could also be it, but I have a feeling there is something very special." Yu Zeonhua looked at the TV and said, "This is the wooden face temple in the third-floor boss room." Min replied, "That's right, back then this place was also quite famous. If you answer the 3 questions correctly, the wooden face gives the reward received. Will be an item that helps increase abilities." His face changed slightly. Sweat poured down. He hesitated, saying, "But the real problem is that the wooden face's questions have an extremely high level of difficulty." The wind blew hard, making the wooden face's leaves sway. Dust swirled thickly. The boy wearing a mask and a white coat silently watched the wooden face, which was closing its eyes. On the TV, a comment from Dry Rations appeared. "It's the future. Hey, they say the third-floor boss room will be controlled so that Announce won't get in to conquer. Right?" After that was a comment from the king of Twitch streaming, "Guide on how to sneak in there. Heh ha ha ha." Just then a comment from the whole world appeared. "Cosplay. Announce, buddy, ha 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 ha." The wooden face opened its eyes and happily said, "It's been a long time since someone has been able to reach here." He mockingly asked, "You brat, did you also come to solve my questions?" He put both hands in his coat pockets and coldly replied, "Yes. Come up with some interesting questions." The wooden face looked at him and confidently said, "All right, then if you answer all 3 questions correctly, I will let you choose one of my maple leaves. But if you answer just one question incorrectly at that moment, the statues will activate, step out from their spots, and surround Kang Jin-hyuk." The statues were 100 times larger than him. Everyone had a fierce face and held weapons as if they could attack at any moment. But he wasn't afraid at all, still standing still, hands in his pockets, waiting for the wooden face's question. He threatened, "Then you will have to be punished." Without waiting for his reaction, the old man said, "Let's begin." The first question appeared a dragon diving into the deep sea at incredible speed. He asked for the precise depth and temperature. "What is the ideal environment for a Kyagon sea dragon to live in?" Taemin anxiously blurted out, "At this rate, I'm definitely going to get it wrong. What kind of impossible question is this?" Eugene muttered through gritted teeth. "Who would even knows that kind of stuff?" Kang Jin-hyuk calmly gave the answer. "The depth is 175 meters, and the temperature is 1.5 degrees. The siblings Taemin and Jong-ah were stunned by his lightning-fast answer. Kang Jin-hyuk continued nonchalantly. "Next question." The wood spirit was speechless, hesitating. "I haven't even announced the correct answer yet," Kang Jin-hyuk said dismissively. "I already know the answer. Next one." The old man was infuriated by his arrogant attitude and snapped, "Fine, the next one won't be so easy." A voice boomed from the TV. "Second question. How do you use the Sea-Bright body Feliani?" Before he could finish the question, Kang Jin-hyuk answered instantly. "Use low heat to cook the salt of the Sun Desert and the High Priest's holy water." He had completed the level 2 quest perfectly in 5 hours. Jong-ah and Taemin were completely lost, not understanding what he was answering at all. The wood spirit grumbled, "Ugh, correct answer this time." The old man couldn't maintain his composure, looking down at him from above, flustered, and said, The final question, the giant eagle of the plateau of the skies mates only once per year. When is that?" Kang Jin-hyuk slammed his hand onto the buzzer. Then, pointing at the wood spirit, he confidently replied, "When the first snow falls on the trial tower." The wood spirit burst into a wide, happy smile. "Ah ha 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 ha! Correct. You are the first person to answer all my questions correctly." Jin Hyuk raised a hand to his nose, shyly replying, "That was pretty fun. It's been a while since I've had a conversation about the trial tower." At this moment, the chat window exploded with comments scrolling by one after another. After laughing, the old man returned to his calm state, closed his eyes, and said, "Very well. I will grant you the maple leaf you desire. Red, yellow, or green, which color do you choose?" Taemin raised his hand excitedly, explaining, "The red maple leaf is coated with flames, giving it fire properties. The yellow maple leaf is shaped like a shield, boosting defensive capabilities, and the green leaf is like riding on a light breeze and green. The leaf helps increase movement speed." Hearing him explain the uses of the 3 leaves, Jong-ah asked curiously, "The conquest of the 3rd floor boss is a large-scale battle. In that case, he'll probably choose the speed-boosting leaf. If it were me, I'd choose that one." Kang Jin-hyuk replied impatiently, "Forget about those mediocre maple leaves. I want something else." Suddenly, he flew right in front of the wood spirit, ordering, "Hand over the black leaf you're hiding." Hearing him demand the black maple leaf, the old man panicked, his pupils trembling. Sweat poured down like rain as he stammered, "How do you know about the black leaf?" The 2 siblings, Taemin and Jong-ah, looked at each other and said in unison, "The black leaf." The old man tried to stay calm. Please, I cannot give you that. How about this? If you choose the red leaf, I will give you the yellow one as well." The maple leaves fell with the wind. The wood spirit feigned misery, trying to convince him. "Is this going a bit too far, don't you think?" Kang Jin-hyuk looked disappointed and feigned turning away. He mocked, "A prestigious and great wood spirit like you, and promised that if I answered all the questions correctly, you would give me the leaf I wanted." He sighed and continued, "And yet here you are, weaseling out of it." Suddenly, he spun around, his face cold. He glared at the wood spirit and ordered, "Stop the nonsense. Hurry up and bring out the black leaf I want." With one hand in his pocket and the other extended, he asked menacingly, "You surely don't intend to stain the honor of a wood spirit, do you?" He slowly backed the old man into a corner. "What if the administrator of this place found out I forced you to hand over the black maple leaf?" The wood spirit screamed in pain. "Ha! Ha! Damn it!" He slowly began to vanish. A system screen appeared notifying that the reward had been provided according to the wood spirit's promise. The moment he vanished, a black maple leaf appeared flying toward Kang Jin-hyuk. The screen displayed a new notification: "Obtained black maple leaf, 1,280 leaves." When he obtained the black maple leaf, the screen showed its information and utility. Black maple leaf, rarity A effect. When using weapons or defensive gear, it provides a special corruption attribute. When attacking every 3 minutes, it deals additional damage equal to 1% of the target's total health. The user takes no damage. And the corruption effect only applies to enemies. Jin Hyuk thought with satisfaction, "Perfect. The final piece is ready." He looked at the leaf in his hand and said with contentment, "Now let's head out." Before, he left 2 statues lunged at him. He drew his weapon, a short blue sword. He said confidently, "Just need to handle them and I'm done." A guy patted his friend on the shoulder. "Hey, did you hear that guy has already started soloing the 3rd floor boss room?" The guy kept recounting the story. The other was quite surprised. "Oh, sooner than I thought, huh?" The thing the other guy was worried about was, "Now we're just stuck here waiting for time to run out so we can go home." The other soldier replied boredly, "But from the beginning, what is the point of watching this place? Who's crazy enough to want to come here? We were forced, that's why we're doing it. They say what to do, so we just do it." They were 2 soldiers participating in a guard mission outside the mission area. The first guy was sure they had calculated everything before doing this right. "Why are you so nitpicky about every little thing? You won't get anything done that way, right?" The 2 were busy chatting and didn't notice their surroundings. Now turning back to look, they didn't know where the other teammates had gone. Only their weapons remained on the ground with a lingering trace of dark energy. The 2 panicked and asked each other, where did everyone go? At the same time, under their feet appeared 2 black circles formed from smoke. From within those circles, thin threads suddenly reached out, wrapping tightly around their legs. The guy tried to struggle, but the circle had widened, and more threads came out, wrapping around his entire body. A voice spoke up. Keep absorbing and accumulating vitality. I still need more, even if it's just one person. No time left to delay any longer. A group of people in cloaks covering themselves completely stood there. They were the masters of the scene that had just unfolded. The guy had been swallowed by the darkness, with only his arms still trying to struggle. The leader of the group was none other than the demon man Julius Cedric. He coldly walked toward the gate. "You brat." It's already begun. Meanwhile, inside the portal, a fierce wind howls, sweeping away the yellow leaves. The scene is incredibly desolate. Kang Jin-hyuk just slashed the head off an earthen statue, blocking his path, cold and decisive. His sword is still crackling with mana as a barrage of notifications pop up on his stream, and the viewer comments start flooding in the high-level specialist center. The more I watch, the more goosebumps I get. He might actually clear this boss. Then another comment. Twitch streaming king, no way, I've been following this guy since he started the stream. Just trust him, Death998. Looks like he can't clear this boss after all. Not necessarily, you can tell just by looking. The protagonist ignores the comments and continues deeper into the building. Finally annoyed, he warns the viewers, "Believe it or not, that's up to you, but I'm in a really bad mood right now, so please stop the nonsense." The comments explode. Big bang. Wait, is he talking to us? Death998. Could he actually say that to the viewers? Just because he's in a bad mood, stay calm, stay confident, don't get triggered. Exactly. He knows that if he disrespects the viewers, his follower count will drop. But seeing how brainless they are, he's just too annoyed, so Jin-hyuk decides to be blunt. If you guys like it, watch. If you don't, then get lost. Usually, streamers always suck up to the viewers to boost their numbers, so his attitude leaves them stunned, staring at their phones. But if you've followed his my way concept from the start, only those who vibe with it would join the fandom anyway. The man watching his phone after the initial shock laughs helplessly. What the? This brat? The protagonist's attitude obviously causes a wave in the comments. Life's over, go is so cold. My way concept. What a walnut brain. Hey, this guy chose such a concept. Why do I keep watching Twitch streaming king normally? I'd be pissed hearing that, but for some reason I'm not bothered at all. What's going on? Am I crazy? The coffin dance, shaking left and right. I actually find it funny. Ignoring the chaotic comments, Kang Jin-hyuk continues to the next door. Suddenly, a boom sounds nearby. A small explosion catches his attention. A piece of paper appears in his hand, but the content is blurred, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. A flash of alertness flickers in Kang Jin-hyuk's eyes. He glances toward the explosion, thinking to himself, is there someone else here? Immediately after he decides to turn off the stream. That's it for today's live stream. This makes the comments go wild. Death998. What are you talking about? Why are you stopping? Twitch streaming king, bro. The viewer count is skyrocketing. Don't you see that? If you've started, you have to finish it. Pizza vermicelli with shrimp paste. It's so good, really. There are millions of viewers. At least tell us when you'll stream again. Ignoring their whining, the screen simply displays live stream ended. Even though the stream is over, Kang Jin-hyuk stays inside. To scout. Two armies are clashing head-on. The black-robed mages simultaneously raise their hands, summoning circular talismans. The battle is incredibly chaotic, with the participation of all sorts of monsters, large and small, with bloodshot, battle-hungry eyes. The terracotta soldiers aren't pushovers, each wielding a long axe, eyes glowing red. The battle erupts between the skull demons and the terracotta soldiers. Both sides clash and dive into the slaughter. The skull demons live up to their name as walking skeletons, with infinite combat power. The terracotta soldiers' momentum is undeniable, taking on the whole lot of them. The battle is brutal. High up on the cliff, a figure silently appears, observing Kang Jin-hyuk. He silently evaluates. The demon troops are fighting hard, aren't they? With those calcium-rich skulls, they seem to have the upper hand. With one swing, he slices the head off an earthen statue. The demon mages keep maintaining the formation to control the skeleton demons. The tide of battle is turning in our favor. Great, keep attacking. Keep it up. Use this momentum to wipe them out. The demon who was gloating hadn't even finished his sentence when a piece of rock flew out of nowhere, shutting them up. Attacked, they scramble to find the direction. The enemy is attacking from afar. Raise your shields. They hold up their magical barriers to block the attack. Which way are they attacking from? One of them spots the attacker and shouts, "There! The masked guy, Kang Jin-hyuk, waves his hand and another wave of attacks hits them. Seeing he's all alone, the protagonist orders, "There's only one guy. Take him down." The skeleton demons immediately draw their bows' arrows flying through the air, like the wind aiming right at him. Kang Jin-hyuk isn't afraid. He quickly blends into the crowd of terracotta statues to dodge the arrows, then raises one hand to summon something. A light flashes. Guardian Seal activated. Instantly, a light envelops the demons, leaving them. Unable to move, they're frozen stiff. The mages realize it too late. Damn it, that's divine power. It can't be countered. They can only stand there and take it. After choosing his target, a massive iron-armored bull monster, Kang Jin-hyuk, casts a spell focusing on controlling the monster's mind. The bull monster, now controlled, turns around and wipes out the surrounding demons. The mages scream in panic and flee. Faced with such a critical situation, a mage reports, "Lord, Cedric the Third stronghold has collapsed." Julius Cedric's face hardens as he looks at the scene in front of him. He grinds his teeth and replies, "You don't need to tell me, I can see it." Kang Jin-hyuk focuses his strategy. "The 4 strongholds I set up to control the undead most effectively." In his mind, he visualizes the demon troops formation. Stronghold number 3 has collapsed. He immediately crosses it out. That leaves 3. Now, if stronghold number 1 is also taken down, the connection network will be severed, the links in the formation. It will become fragmented and the command system will collapse. Kang Jin-hyuk flies back and forth, breathing fire to provoke the demons below. "Over here, this way." A monster gets hit in the face with fire. Not only that, it gets mocked for being slow. "Can you even catch me?" That rock creature is also known as a Moai statue. Triggered its pride, wounded it immediately. Chases after the protagonist to get revenge. A mage notices something unusual and points at the statue. "That kid is running this way." Another yells, "What are you, stupid? Block him," before they can react. Kang Jin-hyuk appears behind them, holding 2 guys' shoulders, kindly saying, "Nah, don't bother." High in the air, the naked Moai statue jumps high, preparing to land on the heads of the demons and terracotta soldiers below. The terracotta statues look up, admiring its magnificent bare butt, while the 2 mages break into a cold sweat as a voice echoes in their ears, "You can't stop it." The naked stone golem jumped high into the air, preparing to land on the heads of the demons and terracotta soldiers below. The terracotta soldiers looked up to behold its magnificent bare butt, while the 2 mages broke into a cold sweat as an unstoppable voice echoed in their ears. Beneath the stone statue it landed and immediately crushed the target. A horrific, desperate scream rang out. A panicked mage shouted to Julius Cedric, "Sir, Sector 1 has been breached." "Ugh, if this keeps up, we're going to be surrounded," he retorted furiously. "I know that, you fool," Cedric finally snapped, screaming in frustration. "What kind of grudge do you have against us? Why do you keep wrecking our livelihoods?" The system announced, Guardian of the Pyramid activated. Julius Cedric began chanting channeling magic through his staff. It looked like he had truly lost his temper. His subordinate warned, "Lord Cedric, if you use that skill now, you won't have enough mana left to face the boss." But the rage was uncontrollable. "Shut your mouth!" Julius Cedric barked, his aura surging with killing intent. "Deploy all forces! Kill him! Guardians awaken!" They began to emerge one by one from the magic circle. Those were the savage, war-hungry mummies Julius Cedric had just summoned. The subordinate nearby asked nervously, "Are you all right, sir?" Summoning the Guardians seemed to have drained a significant amount of Cedric's mana. He crouched, clutching his staff, and wheezed, "I think I overdid it." Then Cedric's eyes turned cold and vicious. He glanced at his subordinate and commanded, "Get over here!" The subordinate approached, and Cedric suddenly grabbed his shoulder, making him incredibly, "Please, Lord Cedric." The subordinate panicked as malicious mana began to surge from Cedric's hand onto his shoulder. He stared at it in horror, and then he was drained dry. His entire body withered away as his life force was sucked out. After absorbing that pathetic life, Julius Cedric's mana was partially restored, and his eyes gleamed with cruelty. "Be a good boy. Resisting only prolongs the agony." Kang Jin-hyuk, watching from above, cursed under his breath. "The madman, he even absorbed his own man. That Cedric mage is truly scum." After being devoured, only the poor guy's clothes and his belt remained. Julius Cedric said with satisfaction, "Good, this much is enough." His eyes glowed a burning red, radiating menacing mana. He muttered to the protagonist. Kept you waiting, didn't I? Let's pick up where we left off. Around him were thousands of horrifying mummies, some were even missing their heads. They stared blankly with hollow red eyes at their prey, preparing for a brutal battle. The mummy warriors obeyed Cedric's command and advanced toward their opponent. Cedric laughed triumphantly. "Ha ha ha! What do you think this is my ultimate army?" he boasted loudly. "My mummy warriors can use their bandages hard as steel with ease." At the same time, the mummies channeled their strength and unleashed the bandages from their bodies. They stretched out, coiling tightly around the statues. Cedric smugly flexed that his mummies were equipped with both defensive and offensive capabilities. They are, say, the strongest immortal army. Kang Jin-hyuk struggled to dodge the rapid-fire attacks. Seeing this, Cedric gloated, "I should have saved them." "To fight the third-floor boss. But if I can kill you here, I can still explain it away, right?" He shook his staff triumphantly, flicking his tongue like someone who had just played a dirty trick. "Die, you masked son of a bitch!" Watching the chaotic scene below, Melina arched an eyebrow and muttered, "Oh my." She watched every move Kang Jin-hyuk made, then inwardly mused, "That masked guy is braver than I thought. It's been a long time since I've seen Cedric this angry." Li Chao remained silent, appearing to agree. At first, his plan to collapse the stronghold was clever enough. But if he doesn't retreat after that, he's just an idiot. Looks like he miscalculated the gap in combat power between himself and his opponent. Li Chao looked serious as he continued. He probably only saw the Bone Soldiers and Death Knights and thought he could handle it. He silently judged that to be a fatal mistake. Cedric's unique skill is much more troublesome than those. Saying that, Li Chao pushed up his glasses with his index finger, looking cool, and calmly replied, "Everything has already turned out this way. There's no need for us to add fuel to the fire." Melina, standing next to him, looked at him with disdain, thinking, "You really have a flair for the dramatic when you talk, don't you?" Suddenly drawn to the scene below, Melina hastily blurted out, She looked confused. What are they doing? The scene below was absolute chaos. Kang Jin-hyuk was struggling to dodge attacks from the enemy. Suddenly, he froze for a brief moment. Memories from that time came flooding back, the image of the Long Tianquan, the Shadow Emperor, standing there, stroking his chin, his eyes scanning Kang Jin-hyuk. In assessment. "Your sword is very sharp and powerful, but you are putting too much strength into it, causing your power to scatter. That is your flaw." Then the old man reached out, lifted a rope, and said in a low voice, "Watch this rope carefully." The Shadow Emperor's voice echoed steadily in his ears. "A true master is one who can unleash power from within the body, even with the same amount of strength." Then he swung the rope, undulating it through the air. It started off gentle, like a breeze blanketing the space, and then at the perfect moment, it struck with great force. Kang Jin-hyuk stood silently watching him perform with eyes filled with admiration. Sunlight shone on the weathered face of the Shadow Emperor, his deep eyes seeming to contain the entire universe. He tilted his chin toward Kang Jin-hyuk and said, "Try applying this to your soul-chasing sword." Returning to the present, Kang Jin-hyuk remembered the old man's teachings and executed the ultimate technique that Long Tianquan had taught him. A part of the soul-chasing sword dance was recreated, a sword stroke slashed deep into the ground, severing the bandages on the mummy soldiers. Kang Jin-hyuk focused all his strength, pointing his sharp sword at his opponent. The system signaled that his mastery of the soul-chasing sword skill had increased significantly. Sirius was overwhelmed by the power of Kang Jin-hyuk's inner energy. He exclaimed in shock, "A mana vortex so strong it's pulling everything around it." In front of him, under Kang Jin-hyuk's control, that vortex grew larger and larger, sweeping away everything in its path. At the same time, Kang Jin-hyuk had summoned 2 more forms of the soul-chasing sword dance. 5th form, soul-chasing heaven, annihilation. The vortex exploded, creating blade-like cuts, anything caught in the swirl. Of this mana was left in tatters. Back to Cedric, he struggled to keep himself from being exhausted by his opponent's ultimate move. At the same time, the system chimed again. Activation complete. Backlash. A powerful vortex closed in on Cedric. The fire in his head erupted, his eyes flashing with hatred. "This brat! The trial tower hasn't even been a reality for 6 months. How could he possibly have such terrifying power? It seemed the outcome was already clear. Cedric could no longer hold on. The power of the vortex was too great. The magic skull on his staff began to... With a sickening crack, the skull in his hand exploded. Cedric shrieked in pure terror at the sheer destructive power of the vortex. Before he could even react, he was sent flying with a deafening scream. The sound echoed to the heavens. The battlefield was a scene of utter devastation, choked with thick clouds of dust. Cedric lay there struggling amidst a pile of corpses. Trembling, fueled by pure adrenaline, he crawled to his feet by any means necessary. I have to get out of here. I can't win this fight. I can't win this. He suddenly snapped, howling in a frenzy. Who's there? Stop that brat, protect me, that's an order. Kang Jin-hyuk strolled up behind his trembling form and muttered calmly, Why? Are you acting just like your pathetic disciple? Jin-hyuk's voice turned icy, dripping with arrogance. Running away in such a miserable state the moment you start to lose. I guess he really did learn that from you, didn't he? The old man shook as he turned around, stammering, What did you say? You're Kang Jin-hyuk! His mind raced, trying to visualize the face behind the mask. Jin-hyuk smirked, chuckling. Give my best regards to your disciple, will you? Cedric's face turned deathly pale, sweat pouring down his skin. Herk! Herk! Cedric let out a strangled gasp, his jaw dropping in pure shock at what was happening. Note, this line is a continuation of the shock. Jin-hyuk gloated. It must be lonely all by yourself, right? I thought I'd send this old man over to keep you company. Cedric was left in agony, trapped within Jin-hyuk's magical ring of fire. The flames roared, consuming him instantly. With a sudden snap of his fingers, Jin-hyuk drained the life force from the rest of the soldiers. Their bodies shattered and crumbled into ash. The remaining minions looked around in bewilderment, crying out, Whoa, what's happening to the summoned beasts? They panicked as the realization hit them. Could Lord Cedric have been... Ah! Their screams pierced the air as they were quickly surrounded by Kang Jin-hyuk's troops. After the battle, Kang Jin-hyuk, while casually headed home, murmuring to himself, I suddenly unlocked the soul-reaping, heaven-devouring skill. But at this level, it's a bit of a workout. I hope I didn't push myself too hard. Just then, the system pinged, purchased 4 intermediate mana recovery potions. He held the 4 bottles up, a satisfied smile on his face. Still, if I hadn't come here, the losses would have been even greater.